Chapter 1049. In the free competition zone, in another star cluster, the Radiant Federation's territory. A fleet was hovering in space. There were about 2 million battleships, and the largest flagship was an eternal light. Around the fleet, there were 2 large mechanical metal rings that encircled the entire fleet, one horizontal and one vertical, perpendicular to each other. These 2 super-large mechanical rings, which were even larger than stargates, were the strategic universal treasures of the Radiant Federation, the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device. The components of the mechanical rings were very precise, and a large number of engineering ships were connected to each section of the rings for debugging and maintenance. At the same time, on the bridge of the flagship, the gathered beyond grade as of the Radiant Federation stood in a row in front of the porthole, looking out at the scene outside. They actually used such strategic equipment. It seems like the upper echelons of the Federation are really taking this operation very seriously. A muscular, bald, green-skinned man with a purple rune scarf wrapped around his head sighed. This person was Woomra, nicknamed Aura. He was a beyond grade A pugilist from the Radiance Federation, and he was extremely good at energy attacks. He was a mutated descendant of a beyond grade A race, and had superior pugilist talent. He stood with his hands behind his back, giving off the aura of a grandmaster. This is related to the unsealing of the 10,000 deity scepter. It's worth investing a huge amount of resources to activate the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device, Hades said. Ethereal will definitely make a move. When they take action and stall Black Star's doppelganger, we'll directly use the teleportation device to cut into the battlefield. That's right. The fleet brought another set of multidimensional sky-opening transportation device. As long as we get Hela and teleport back, the battle plan will be completed. The fleet commander standing by the side said. The Radiant Federation was different from the Arcane Church. Their goal was to capture Hela alive and force Black Star to unseal the 10,000 deity scepter. Because of the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device, the Radiants had a natural advantage. As long as they succeeded, they could quickly escape from the battle. The multidimensional sky-opening transportation device could send people away but would not be able to bring them back. Therefore, this fleet had brought along a second set of transportation devices and was equipped with a self-destruct device. As long as the transportation was completed, it would self-destruct to prevent others from taking it for research. If they could unseal the 10,000 deity scepter, paying the price of a multidimensional sky-opening transportation device was acceptable to the Radiants. Although it was expensive, a universal civilization did not lack money. With this technology, it would not be difficult to build one. There were countless sets of multidimensional sky-opening transportation devices in the warehouse, which gave the Radiants a terrifying strategic deterrent. It's easy to say. Although the fleet has brought another set of teleporters, it takes a lot of time to set them up, guide them, and recharge them. There will definitely be interference during this period. This person was called Jackernitz, a beyond grade a mechanical pugilist from the Radiant Federation. That's why we brought a fleet with us. Many of them are unmanned ships. On one hand, it's to speed up the deployment of the teleportation device. On the other hand, it's to protect the teleportation device from being interfered with. We also have Her Excellency Morniza's Mech Legion. It's enough to cover our retreat, Hades said. The robot on the side nodded. This was the Lord's avatar of Morniza, the beyond grade A mechanic from the Radiants. She had brought a mechanical army with her, which was the best choice to cover their retreat. Also, don't forget that Black Star is a virtual mechanic. He can invade our fleet. Romo and I will provide remote virtual defense assistance. The main artificial intelligence of the Radiants will also invest a large amount of computing power to strengthen the firewall. Although Black Star is a peak beyond grade A, he won't be able to break through our blockade while fighting while he's distracted, Morniza said. The Romo she mentioned was another beyond grade, a virtual mechanic from the Radiance. He guarded the quantum network all year round and protected the main artificial intelligence database of the Radiant. He did not participate in the operation, but he would provide remote virtual assistance. It's a pity that His Excellency the Mecha Empire won't participate in the operation. Otherwise, with him here, we wouldn't have to worry about Black Star's virtual intrusion at all. Hades sighed. This time, Serene, who was standing in the middle, snorted and coldly said, "Humph, Manison isn't coming, and Ulu is far away in the central galaxy, so I'll lead the team this time. I don't care about anything else. Leave Black Star to me. If Ethereal wants to stop us, I'll deal with the strongest one." Star Crusher Serene, a peak beyond grade A pugilist, was the leader of the Radiance's operation this time, a member of the Ancient Ones. On the other side, a multi-pronged crystal floated in the air. It was deep blue and emitted psychic waves. "Leave the mission of capturing Hela to me." This was a crystal life form called Crystal Soul, a beyond grade A psychic of the Radiance. The Radiance had mobilized 7 beyond grade as this time: Energy Soul Woomra, Lone Ranger Jackernitz, Mechanical Queen Morniza, Hades, Star Crusher Serene, and Defender Romo, who would provide remote assistance. This lineup was very strong, and they had one more combatant than Ethereal. In a certain branch of the Limitless Financial Group in the Geru star cluster of the Flickering World, Sorokin's manifestation stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of the office on the top floor, looking at the dense meteors in the distance. These were all hyperdrive trails left behind by spaceship. This was an interstellar trade transit station, located in the territory of the Black Star Core. Not far away was one of the Stargate hubs. It was very prosperous and could lead to the vicinity of Black Star Palace. A good show should start soon. Sorokin narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. As the middleman who delivered information to the Radiance and Ethereal, he knew very well how Hela's information would cause the two universal civilizations to react. In his guess, Ethereal and Radiance would have a very high chance of taking action. While looking at the scenery, he secretly calculated the possible scenarios in his mind. The Radiance has the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device, so they have the initiative. They'll most likely wait patiently for Ethereal to make the first move. The Mecha Empire will most likely not participate, so Serene is the most likely to take action. As for Ethereal, whether it's Kasuyi or Sun Hunter leading the team, they'll probably do nothing. The meeting of the gods really affected quite a few people, Black Star. Just as he was deep in thought, a magic portal suddenly appeared in the room. A figure walked out and stood behind Sorokin. With a wave of his hand, he extinguished the portal. Sensing the magic wave, Sorokin turned around and looked at this person with a fake smile on his face. "You're here, Your Excellency, traveler." The newcomer was a humanoid creature with gray skin and no nose. His eyes were crystal yellow, and he had demonic vertical pupils. He had messy gray hair and wore a golden headband. He only had 3 fingers on his hand, and he held a staff that looked like a twisted branch. He wore a brown hooded robe and looked travel-worn. Traveler, a beyond grade A mage, spent most of his time in the secondary dimensions and rarely appeared in the outside world. On the surface, he was a neutral beyond grade A, but in reality, he maintained an unclear relationship with many supercluster civilizations. He had also been present during the meeting of the gods, but he was very quiet and did not have much of a presence. "The Supercluster Alliance hired me to help you." Traveler tapped his staff and stared at Sorokin with interest. "Interesting. What kind of deal did you make with the Supercluster Alliance? You actually want me to take the initiative to challenge Black Star? Some things are happening. If I'm not wrong, Radiance and Ethereal will attack Hela soon. At that time, I hope you can go to Black Star Palace and challenge Black Star." Sorokin smiled faintly. He had secretly contacted the Supercluster Alliance, revealed some information, and made a new deal. He was prepared to interfere. Oh, you mean, that's right. If Black Star accepts your challenge, even if he can divert his attention to use his lord's avatar, the strength of his avatar will be severely reduced, and he won't be able to take care of Hela. If he doesn't accept the challenge, it means that his main body might not be in his headquarters. You'll have to fight Dragon Emperor Ames. From what I know, he's very close to Ames. This way, Black Star will have one more place to support him. No matter what, you'll be able to restrain Black Star. Traveler listened silently before slowly saying, "You seem to want to make the operation between the two universal civilizations succeed. What's in it for you?" "Hela's existence is a threat. I believe most beyond grade as don't want to see someone like her alive." Sorokin chuckled. "Furthermore, even if she joins a civilization, she'll choose the dynasty. To your supercluster civilization, she's even more of a threat." "That's not all," Traveler said. "You definitely have a bigger goal for dragging the supercluster civilization into this." That's fine. There's no harm in telling you." Sorokin narrowed his eyes. "Do you think the upper echelons of Radiance and Ethereal are only doing this for Hela?" No, Hela is only one of the reasons. The other important reason is the recent meeting of the gods." "Oh." Traveler's eyes flickered. "Think about it. Radiance and Ethereal sent out beyond grade as to do something like this. If they succeed, how will Black Star react? The other reason Radiance and Ethereal did this is to incite internal strife among the beyond grade as, if they succeed, the meeting of the gods will only exist in name." Sorokin's lips curled up. "I even have a bold guess that Radiance and Ethereal would rather leave one or two of their beyond grade A allies alive in this operation, using the hatred between the beyond grade as to prevent them from uniting." Traveler frowned. "That can't be. The situation isn't that bad." Who knows? I've learned something from my long life. Don't think that you're irreplaceable in the eyes of the advanced civilizations." Sorokin did not comment. Traveler stared at him and slowly said, "What about you? You're also a beyond grade A, but you're not on their side. Aren't you the same? I'm pardonable, but you're a neutral guy." If I have to say something, I don't like the idea of individual strength being supreme. I'm a businessman. I believe in the collective. I believe in the market." Sorokin smiled faintly. "No matter how strong a beyond grade A is, they're just individuals. Only a diverse civilization can make the cold universe prosperous. Civilization is the cornerstone of society, the protagonist of the universe. Individuals like us who are outside the norm are just dispensable parts of the galactic society. Without us, the world might be more peaceful and prosperous. The privileges that beyond grade as have are already great enough. If we don't know how to be content and insist on reaching our hands into areas we shouldn't touch, it will only cause new chaos in the universe. I don't want that to happen. The fewer beyond grade as there are in the universe, the better." Traveler was a little surprised. "I thought you only cared about making money. I didn't expect you to have such a side to you. You can think of me as the guardian of the balance of the universe." Sorokin turned around, suddenly paused, and added, "Of course, I still have to make money. Somewhere in the Emerald Star Cluster, in the machinery workshop of Han Zhao's hidden spaceship Primal Chaos Mysterious Energy Carrier, 17th Test. A silver and red mechanical body stood on the test platform. The cylindrical container containing the Primal Chaos Mysterious Energy was fixed above the mechanical body by 4 mechanical arms. Dense transmission wires connected the container to the carrier. Philip sat on Han Zhao's shoulder and reported, "Carrier self-test complete, excellent condition. The Primal Chaos Mysterious Energy is obedient. Connection activated. Begin energy conversion." Han Zhao nodded. "Begin." As soon as he said that, the device was activated. The primal chaos mysterious energy in the container became active and quickly flowed into the mechanical carrier through the transmission wires. The mechanical carrier shook. Its eyes suddenly lit up with a red light, becoming more and more dazzling. The body was vibrating at a high frequency, bearing the burden of the primal Esper ability entities. Han Shao stared at the mechanical carrier and fully released his mechanical sense, observing every detail of the test. In his eyes, the violent primal chaos mysterious energy was gradually restrained by the carrier and started to merge with the special conversion parts in the body. The function of these parts was similar to the host cells, used to contain and refine the primal chaos mysterious energy. After a long time, the last bit of primal chaos mysterious energy also merged with the carrier. The carrier suddenly released a bunch of red shockwaves, stirring up a gust of wind in the room. Fusion complete, Synchronization rate 72%, compatibility 75%, load of the carrier at 41%. Philip reported a bunch of parameters. Finally succeeded. Han Shao was overjoyed. Previously, the carrier could not even complete the first step of fusion. Now, it had finally merged with the primal chaos mysterious energy. Although it still needed to be optimized, it was already a good start and could be put into battle. Creating a mechanical carrier for the primal Esper ability was different from creating other mechanical soldiers. The technical requirements were very precise. Not only did it have to fuse with the primal chaos mysterious energy, but it also had to prevent it from seizing control of the body. Thankfully, Han Shao had obtained Evan's cell sample, so he did not have to take 99% of the wrong path. A new month has begun. During the double period, please give me a monthly ticket. Chapter 1050. The function of the mechanical carrier was the same as the host. While accommodating the primal chaos mysterious energy, it could use its own psionic core to unleash Esper abilities. It did not have to start from scratch like an ordinary host and could directly unleash very strong combat power. The combat power depended on the performance of the carrier itself, the fusion rate, synchronization rate, and other parameters with the primal chaos mysterious energy. Simply put, the situation was similar to ESGod. An Esper who was already strong to begin with became the host, and with the foundation of strength, he could unleash the power of the primal chaos mysterious energy right away. However, the primal chaos mysterious energy mainly provided energy, so it was just like a tool that was bound in the carrier. The one controlling the body to fight was the mechanical carrier itself, or the combat artificial intelligence Spartan. Because this carrier was only the first prototype, there was still a lot of room for improvement, so Han Shao did not plan to turn it into an apostle weapon immediately. The model of this carrier should be called Mysterious Energy Host, First Generation. I'll decide on the official code name after it becomes an apostle weapon. Han Shao was very satisfied. He had a bunch of skills that could increase the upper limit of his mechanical abilities, and there was still an empty slot for an apostle weapon. Okay, model has been recorded. Database complete. Han Shao nodded, sized up the mysterious energy host carefully, and asked, "How do you feel?" The next moment, a psychic wave was released, and the primal chaos mysterious energy inside spoke. "It's a bit cramped and uncomfortable. Give me a better carrier in the future." "Don't worry, the prototype is already out. The optimization is very simple." Han Shao waved his hands. His strengthening skills were also very powerful. Change the carrier to a mechanical life as soon as possible. That way, at least there'll be someone to communicate with me, unlike now, the primal chaos mysterious energy complained. Han Shao suddenly thought of something. "By the way, do you think I can cut you into 8 pieces and put them on different mysterious energy hosts? That way, I'll have a primal chaos mysterious energy squad." "Don't even think about it." The primal chaos mysterious energy exploded. You're not allowed to split my body. Absolutely. Yes. No. Yes. Such a big reaction. Is this behavior very uncomfortable to you? Han Xiao was curious. He was mainly thinking about God's behavior in his previous life, and could not help but ask. Humph, it's equivalent to you dismembering a person, and he still has to watch other people use his body parts as weapons, waving his arms and legs in battle, playing with his body and wasting his flesh. Plus, all his body parts can still feel pain, which can be transmitted back to the brain. Don't you think that's good? The primal chaos mysterious energy was dissatisfied. Cough, just pretend I didn't mention it. Han Xiao thought about it for a moment. It seemed that this scene was a little perverted. He coughed dryly and acted as if nothing had happened. He then tested the combat power of the first-generation mysterious energy host and the various ways to use his Esper abilities. The result was very satisfactory to him. As a compound super high-risk Esper ability, the primal chaos mysterious energy had a lot of abilities. It could strengthen the body, radiate powerful energy of both psychic and spatial attributes, and fly at high speed. The more advanced uses included shuttling between secondary dimensions, extracting energy from the core of a planet, invisible psychic energy, gravity springs, and so on. At this time, because the first-generation mysterious energy host had not received the bonuses of a mechanical life form and an apostle weapon, his combat power was far from reaching the beyond grade A level. However, in Han Zhao's calculations, once the mysterious energy host became an apostle weapon, with the flexibility of the primal chaos mysterious energy, he would become the strongest existence among the apostle weapons. Even Psionic Prime, who had evolved for many years, might not be his match. As long as the optimization is completed, the mysterious energy host will become my number one fighter. He might even be able to defeat ordinary beyond grade as. Having obtained a powerful combatant, Han Xiaoxin was overjoyed. At this time, Philip suddenly trembled and said, Master Black Star Palace sent a message. A beyond grade A is looking for you. Who is it? Han Zhao's eyes narrowed. To think that it was the Black Star Palace. Could it be that someone had gone to his territory and attacked his headquarters? That person is a little too bold. Does he think that the Black Star Palace that I spent a lot of money to build is made of paper? Plus, with the fleet in his headquarters, there are less than 2 beyond grade as. It is basically impossible for them to pose a threat to Black Star Palace. It's neither. It's the dynasty's ally, Yining. Han Xiao was stunned and a little puzzled. What is the meaning of this guy coming to my headquarters to look for me? Who's receiving him now? Did he express his intentions? Ames met him. He said that he brought a gift and wants to exchange it for the right to use the evolution cube. I see. Han Xiao understood. Back then, because he had won the battle with Yining, Yining did not have the chance to be baptized by the evolution cube. He had never mentioned it again, probably because he was looking for a bargaining chip to exchange for it. Then, what did he bring me? Han Xiao was curious. It seems to be some rare blueprints. I don't know where he got them. Blueprints, that's not bad. Han Xiao had originally planned to be on good terms with Yining, so he was very lenient with his demands for Yining. As long as the other party showed a good attitude, he would lend the evolution cube. In this regard, Han Zhao's style was to treat people like Heber differently. Even if he gave him the bloodshed land, he would not lend the evolution cube. What a coincidence. My main body is not in the headquarters. Han Xiao rubbed Philip's face with his finger. Where is the throne? Reporting to Master, we're almost at Black Star Palace, about a few hours away, Philip smiled and hugged Han Zhao's finger. Then, I'll let Ames and Yining chat for a while. I'll go over when the throne is here. As soon as the king was created, Han Xiao had the mechanical army secretly escort the locator, throne and Evans back to the headquarters of Black Star Palace. It had been quite some time, and the troops had been transported through the exclusive Stargate channel of the Army's territory. The speed was very fast, and they were almost home now. As long as he sent the throne home, he could use the king to teleport back instantly. As long as he did not stay for more than 3 minutes, he could activate the teleportation function again and return here. Then, he would start calculating the cooldown time. As a universal treasure, the cooldown time for teleportation was not very long. At the same time, in Black Star Palace, in the army commander's reception room, Ening sat with his hands on his knees, looking reserved and polite. Opposite him, Ames sat on the main seat with one hand supporting her chin and the other casually controlling the force field. She placed 3 glasses full of wine on the table and smiled. "Don't be reserved. Drink something first." Fu Ding smiled and agreed. "Your Excellency Ening, the army commander has gone to inspect the territory. He'll be back in a few hours. Please wait for a while." "Okay." Ening nodded, raised his glass, and finished it in one gulp. Ames sized up Ening's strange bright silver body with interest. "I heard from Black Star that your strength is not bad. He thinks highly of your potential." "Thank you. I also respect your Excellency Black Star very much." Ening looked at Ames, hesitated for a while, and said, "Actually, I have a question. What do you want to say?" Ames smiled and took a sip of wine. "Black Star is not here. Why are you representing the army to receive me?" Ening was a little hesitant. The way he saw it, although the Black Star Corps and Floating Dragon Island were allies, there did not seem to be a need for an ally to receive a Beyond Grade A on behalf of the host. After all, the true decision-makers here were still the officers of the army, and the Dragon Emperor should only be a guest. However, she was acting like the host now. Could it be that the rumors were true, that there was that kind of relationship between Black Star and the Dragon Emperor? "What's so strange about that?" Ames raised her brows. "Black Star told me to come and find him. He's gone out, so of course I'm the one receiving the Beyond Grade A guest." Hearing this, Silver Shadow's expression suddenly became somewhat meaningful. This matter-of-fact tone. The rumors are true. He was still wondering why Ames would come all the way to the Black Star Palace, but now he understood. If the two of them had such a relationship, why else would Black Star call the Dragon Emperor over? Of course, it would be for a long night without sleep. Thinking of this, Ening could not help but be more respectful. Although he was not someone who liked to chat, he still tried his best to chat with Ames. After all, he had a favor to ask of Black Star, and a family member had come out to receive him. He could not possibly ignore her. That would be too rude. At the same time, in the Emerald Star Cluster, the Black Star Corps' frontline stronghold, a spaceship flew over from afar, slowly approaching the stronghold. Seeing this, the Army Defense Forces outside the planet's atmosphere immediately sent out 2 battleships to intercept the incoming spaceship and issued a warning in the public channel. "Intruder, stop moving forward. Please report your identity immediately." After the message was sent, this unfamiliar spaceship slowly turned off and hovered outside the atmosphere. The next moment, a tyrannical energy wave suddenly erupted, and all the energy detection radars in the stronghold rang, emitting a constant warning. Boom! Warning! Warning! High energy burst detected. Matching event model. Matching complete. Model is Beyond Grade A energy burst. Walala! The entire stronghold was in an uproar, and the fleet outside the atmosphere immediately gathered. The cannons on the ground also raised their heads and locked onto this spaceship. A large number of battleships also quickly rose into the air, and countless cannons were aimed at this spaceship. The stronghold instantly entered combat mode. The next moment, Tolian's figure appeared in the public channel, emitting demonic flames all over his body as he laughed arrogantly. "Ah-ha-ha-ha-ha! Hela! I'm here to take revenge on you. Last time I was injured by you. This time I'm going to wash away the shame." Do you dare fight me again? As he spoke, he fiercely suppressed the stronghold with his beyond grade A aura and headed straight for Hela. In the training room, Hela suddenly opened her eyes and her gaze froze. Han Zhao's warning some time ago appeared in her mind, telling her to be more alert when she encountered things recently. Someone might come looking for trouble. At this moment, seeing the person who had once begged for mercy arrogantly coming to challenge her, a thought flashed through her mind. There's a trap. Does he really think I'm a martial arts fanatic? At this moment, the adjutant sent a message. Your Excellency Hela, he's challenging you. What should we do? Hela's face was indifferent as she coldly said, What's the army manual? Do you still need me to teach you how to deal with enemies approaching the stronghold? Just because the other party is a beyond grade A, you don't know what to do. Then what's the use of having you, The adjutant shrank his neck. Understood. The spaceship outside the atmosphere was surrounded by the Black Star Corps fleet. After Tolian issued the challenge, he patiently waited for Hela to appear. With Hela's personality, she's a battle maniac. When she meets my challenge, there's a 70% chance that she'll agree. Now that Kasuyi and the others are hiding not far away, as long as I try to lure her over while we fight, the ambush will be complete. Just as he was thinking about the battle plan, a strong light suddenly lit up in his vision. Tolian hurriedly looked out of the porthole, only to see the Black Star Corps fleet surrounding him open fire without even saying a word. The light of countless energy cannons filled his vision. Tolian's expression changed drastically. Damn, you're not playing by the rules. Chapter 1051. Boom. Under the barrage of countless cannons, not a single piece of armor could escape the fate of annihilation. Not even a single piece of wreckage was left. An unstable teleportation gate opened not far away, and Tolian staggered out with lingering fear. Fortunately, he had cast a teleportation spell in advance and avoided the barrage at the last moment. Otherwise, it would have been too embarrassing to be heavily injured before the battle even began. You actually ordered your fleet to bombard me without saying a word. Shameless. Tolian was shocked and furious. How could a beyond grade A not give any face when visiting and challenging each other? Even if my intention was to challenge you, you did not even say a word before bombarding me with a barrage of cannons. That's too rude. The way he saw it, even if beyond grade As had grudges against each other, when one went to challenge the other, they would at least be polite on the surface. We're all people with status, but you directly blasted me out with a broom. Where is the etiquette between beyond grade As? This is not only embarrassing for me, but also for you. At this time, Hela's voice sounded in the public channel. You've already lost to me. Those who have been surpassed by me have no chance of catching up to me. I'm not interested in fighting you again. Hearing this, Tolian was furious. He thought he was arrogant enough, but he did not expect Hela to be even more arrogant than him. His expression changed several times, but he decided to endure it. Humph, I have a mission, so I won't argue with you. Anyway, you're basically a dead man. Tolian snorted coldly in his heart, activated a solidified magic communication rune, and contacted his teammates who were lying in ambush elsewhere. Hela did not accept the challenge. Not only did she not fall for it, but she also shamelessly bombarded me with cannons. The plan to lure her won't work. Let's change to a direct attack. At least we've confirmed that she's in the stronghold. Very soon, Sagman's reply came through the magic communication. Okay, change of plan. Begin the attack. Tolian, share your vision and locate her for us. Taylor, open the teleportation gate and attack the Stargate first. Also, preheat the space stabilization device. After we enter, seal the hyperdrive and teleportation abilities, so Hela has no way to escape. We must act according to the original plan. Hela went all the way to the highest command room of the stronghold. Looking at the images transmitted back from the surveillance screen, She saw Tolian in outer space constantly dodging the fleet's attack. Why isn't he leaving? He is indeed plotting something. Hela frowned slightly. After a moment of hesitation, she took out her communicator and sent a message to Han Shao. She wanted to discuss this with Han Shao. However, in the next moment, a strong sense of danger suddenly arose, like a chill rising from his tailbone and penetrating deep into his bone marrow. Hela's expression changed slightly. She suddenly raised her head. In her perception, several star-like energy sources suddenly appeared nearby. Warning! Warning! High energy source detected. Warning! Warning! The Stargate has been destroyed. Requesting backup. The image on the screen suddenly changed. A magic teleportation gate suddenly appeared beside the Stargate station far away, and two figures stepped out. They were Taylor and Sagman. Before the defense forces of the Stargates opened fire, the two of them attacked first without saying a word. A large number of summoned monsters surged out and blocked the defense fleet from every direction. Waves of arcane attacks with pure destructive power and endless beams of light shattered the Stargates one after another as if they were rotten wood. The surprise attack was effective. Beside Tolian, a second super-large teleportation gate appeared. The black mass of mechanical troops flowed out like a flood and spread out rapidly. The three figures at the front were Kasui's doppelganger, Desolate Beast Mercer, and Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco's Lord's Avatar, who was controlling this mechanical army. Kasui and Mercer were all old acquaintances. The one worth mentioning was Francisco, who was a direct descendant of Ethereal. He was a rather special existence. His main body had always been imprisoned in the Arcane Church, and was usually not allowed to move around in the outside world. Only when the Arcane Church needed his strength would they allow him to use his Lord's Avatar in battle. If he performed meritorious deeds, his sentence would be reduced. His crime was related to his nickname, Mechanical Catastrophe, which meant that he had once caused a machine-related disaster. At the same time, it was also an acknowledgement of his strength. He was an energy branch mechanic, and had a special talent. The cost of mechanical force bonuses was far lower than other mechanics of the same level. At the same time, the range of his mechanical force was far greater than other mechanics of the same level. This meant that the upper limit of the number of mechanical troops he could support at the same time was very high. The purpose of bringing Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco was to fight against the fleet of the Army Stronghold and restrain the mechanical troops that Black Star had placed there. He was responsible for the battle of the army. Otherwise, with just a few beyond grade as, most of their attention would be tied up by the fleet. As soon as he entered the battlefield, Mechanical Catastrophe controlled his mechanical troops to fight against the fleet of the Stronghold. With the sudden appearance of the strong enemy, the Stronghold fleet was caught off guard at first. They quickly adjusted, and the battle instantly entered the climax. At the same time, Mechanical Catastrophe's troops also carried many spacetime stabilizing devices, wormhole countermeasures, and other equipment. All of them were activated, and bubbles popped up, immediately stabilizing the spacetime of this area. This time, even teleportation spells could not be used. Seeing this, Hela's expression immediately darkened, and her expression turned serious. The enemy came prepared. 6 beyond grade as, including a super combatant like Kasui. They want to kill me so badly? Even with Hela's strong personality, she could not help but be frightened by this. Is this the situation that Black Star faced back then? No, it might be even worse. It's practically a situation of certain death. However, her mentality only wavered for a moment before Hela adjusted, suppressing the negative emotions and turning them into battle intent. She immediately felt as if all the blood in her body was boiling. Boom! The next moment, Hela broke through the roof, flew straight into the sky, gritted her teeth, and charged toward the few beyond grade as who had locked onto her with their aura. During the charge, death energy was constantly released, turning into a bright red blood cloud. Seeing this, Red Devil, Desolate Beast, and Mechanical Catastrophe's Lord's Avatar swooped down at the same time. While the defense fleet was distracted, they quickly bypassed the blockade and collided with Hela. Boom! The momentum was earth-shattering. On the surface of the planet, a red shockwave exploded. The blood cloud formed by death energy dissipated, and the red meteor fell to the ground at an even faster speed, unable to stop. Rumble! Along the way, she smashed a large number of bases, leaving behind a ravine-like trajectory. Only then did Hela stop her momentum, and dust filled the sky. Cough, cough! In the dust, Hela got up. Her eyes were fierce. She casually wiped her bleeding nose and stared at the three people in the sky. In a head-on clash, she was clearly unable to withstand the attacks of the three of them and was directly blown away. At this time, in the distance of the stronghold, a small black dot rose into the sky like a black tide, quickly approaching from the distant horizon like a flock of crows covering the sky. It was the mechanical army that Han Shao had placed in the stronghold, and the one leading was the Lord's Avatar that had already descended. The next moment, a psychic wave that covered the entire planet descended, and an ethereal voice sounded in everyone's heart. Black Star, your opponent is me. Their vision blurred, and they saw that Kasui's avatar had already blocked the path of the mechanical army. He raised a hand and pressed down. Boom! All the mechanical army was instantly pressed to the ground. Only the Lord's avatar was glowing brightly with mechanical force, barely able to hold on. Although the opponent is a machine and can't use the psychic attack that psychic power is best at, I'm also proficient in psychic power. Kasui's avatar said calmly, raised his hand and pushed forward. A psychic wall that spanned thousands of miles was formed and pushed forward with a rumble. All the buildings and machines in front of it were pushed out and pressed against the wall. A portion of the mechanical army counterattacked toward the invisible psychic wall, but Kasui's psychic power seemed to be endless. Even though the psychic wall kept cracking under the focus fire, he did not mind squandering his psychic power to repair the damaged areas. The psychic wall's momentum was almost unstoppable. Like a board eraser, it directly wiped out a large area of the planet's surface, uprooting a large piece of land. Countless building debris, soil, and machines were pushed into outer space along the direction of the psychic wall. Other than the Lord's avatar and a few mechanical soldiers with high mobility who took the initiative to retreat, the rest of the mechanical army was pushed out of the planet by the psychic wall, far away from the battlefield where Hela was. They could only regroup in outer space. At the same time, Kasui's avatar also followed and blocked in front of Han Shao. What terrifying psychic power! Han Zhao's Lord's avatar's eyes flashed. I draw power from the void dimension. My psychic power is infinite. In terms of energy storage, perhaps only Olu of the Radiant Federation can compare to me, Kasui said calmly. I heard that you also have a void bloodline. When your god's trait transformation reaches a certain level, you might awaken such power. Han Zhao's Lord's avatar looked around and saw the entire battle. At this moment, the planet's stronghold could be divided into 3 battlefields. Hela was fighting Red Devil, Desolate Beast, and Mechanical Catastrophe. She was in danger and was completely at a disadvantage. 1 against 3 was too much for the current Hela, and it looked like she would be heavily injured at any moment. However, Han Shao knew her well. Although Hela could not beat the 3 of them, she could still hold on for a short period of time. After all, her lifesteal ability was quite strong, and the power of reducing her lifespan was terrifying. It affected the enemy's performance and made them not dare to exchange injuries. The second area was a large-scale army battle. The mechanical army controlled by Mechanical Catastrophe was fighting with the defense fleet of the stronghold. The battle was at a stalemate. The defense fleet mainly wanted to turn back and support Hela, while Mechanical Catastrophe's army was trying to pin them down. The third battlefield was Sagman and Taylor. They were attacking the Stargate station, cutting off Hela's path of retreat and the path of reinforcements. They had a huge advantage. When they destroyed all the Stargates, they would turn back and attack Hela. By then, Hela would not be able to hold on. Han Zhao's Lord's Avatar wanted to stop Sagman and Taylor, but there was still some distance between the Stargate and the Stronghold planet, so he would not be able to make it in time. Furthermore, with the mechanical army in his hands, he probably would not be able to break through Kasui's blockade. The largest mech legion and apostle weapons were all with his main body and were rushing over. It would take a while for them to arrive. The situation is not good. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes and looked at Kasui. "You're determined to stop me?" Kasui was expressionless. He retracted his mental waves and only had a one-way connection with Han Xiao. He slowly said, "This Lord's Avatar of yours has to stay here with me." He emphasized the words Lord's Avatar. Han Xiao observed Kasui's meaningful expression. Suddenly, he had an idea. He controlled the Lord's Avatar to charge forward with his mechanical army. Kasui was a psychic, but not only did he not fight back, he even charged forward to engage in close combat with the Lord's Avatar. The battle was very intense. Those who did not know would think that there was some deep hatred between the two of them. The mechanical army around them fired. Although the shots looked very accurate, they were actually using human marksmanship, so the cannon fire always brushed past them. Kasui did not stop them and allowed these cannon fire to land on the battlefield between Hela and the three of them, interrupting the attacks of the three from time to time, forcing them to dodge and creating opportunities for Hela. At the same time, the mechanical army spread out and tried to go around Kasui. Kasui symbolically released a psychic wall, but the strength of several places was clearly weakened and was easily torn apart, allowing the mechanical soldiers to pass through. It looked like Kasui was fighting with the Lord's Avatar in close combat and could not divert his attention to maintain the psychic wall. This caused a portion of Black Star's mechanical army to take the opportunity to break through the blockade and support Hela. Han Xiao finally confirmed that this guy in front of him was going easy on him. No, this was not going easy on him. This was at least releasing a flood. Why is he helping me like this? Han Zhao's mind spun rapidly. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. In the one-way mental connection, he whispered a secret code. Meeting of the gods? Acting? Focus. Acting. Han Xiaoxin's head immediately froze. Good lord, the boss on the other side is an actor. Safe. He temporarily suppressed his restless heart. The current situation could still be maintained. He had already requested reinforcements from the dynasty. The stronghold Stargate might be destroyed, but the dynasty's reinforcements could go to the nearest Stargate. Although they would not be able to reach his stronghold directly and would take more time to provide reinforcements, it would not be too slow. Ethereal has moved, so there might be other people watching. I have to calm down and adapt to the situation. Wait for reinforcements and my main body to arrive, Han Xiao thought to himself. Under Kasui's guidance, a portion of the mechanical army successfully arrived at the battlefield where Hela was to provide reinforcements. With the mechanical force bonus from Han Xiao, the mechanical army was very strong. Even if there were not many of them, Tolian and the other two could not ignore them. With help, Hela immediately heaved a sigh of relief. She did not have to fight alone anymore, and her situation became much better. The mechanical army cooperated with her, and she knew when to advance and retreat. The death energy that had the ability to reduce one's lifespan shot out everywhere, making Tolian and Mercer extremely wary. Originally, both of them were tanks, but the one acting as the main tank was Mechanical Catastrophe's Lord's Avatar. His fragile mechanical body was under pressure that this class should not have. Seeing how scared Tolian and Mercer were, Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco was completely speechless. Can you guys give me more strength? I'm not Black Star. My lord's avatar is not that tanky. Damn it, Kasui missed someone. Is Black Star's avatar that difficult to deal with? Mercer was surprised as he dodged a round of attacks from the mechanical army. Kasui's avatar is here, after all. In order to split the battlefield, he released a powerful attack, so it's normal for his condition to deteriorate. Francisco's tone did not change at all. I didn't expect Black Star to be so strong. Not only did he block Kasui, but he also has the strength to virtual invade my army. On the other side, Red Devil Tolian was just about to speak when his shield was suddenly shattered by cannon fire. He did not manage to dodge in time and was hit by Hela's death shockwave. He immediately shivered and felt as if the message, -1, had popped up above his head. Tolian could not help but look up at Kasui, who was fighting fiercely in the distance. His eyes were filled with resentment as he groaned in his heart. My lifespan has decreased again. What's going on? In the outer space of the stronghold, in the battlefield where the fleets were exchanging fire, the army players in the battleships were dumbfounded by the sudden situation. Although many players had already established or joined guilds under the name of the Black Star Corps and acted independently in the free competition zone in the form of subsidiary organizations, there were also some players who chose to follow the main force. This was especially so after the faction war order issued by the army recently. Many players gathered at the frontline stronghold and treated this place as a temporary main city. They kept recruiting and forming teams, preparing to hunt down the players of the enemy faction in the free competition zone. They did not expect that they would suddenly be attacked by multiple beyond grade, as while staying in the Black Star stronghold. This place directly became the battlefield of 8 beyond grade as. What's going on? Aren't beyond grade as very rare? This is enough to fill up 2 tables of mahjong. Could it be we've encountered big news again? Many players thought of the Battle of Planet Lighthouse in the previous version and were overjoyed. They quickly turned on the recording function and took pictures of the faces of the beyond grade as. This is probably a big event in this version. We've encountered it. Quick, take pictures. I have a feeling that something big is going to happen. Many players fully experienced the joy of being a spectator and were extremely excited. The sound of hurried footsteps came closer and closer. Bang! The door to the reception room was knocked open. Ames, Silver Shadow, and Phaidon, who were chatting in the room, could not help but turn their heads and look at the door. They saw Aurora stumbling in with an anxious expression. Teacher, something bad has happened. What's wrong? Ames was confused. Sister is being attacked by the Arcane Church. Many beyond grades have gone there, and they all want to kill her. I saw it through telepathy. What? Ames suddenly stood up. Her force field exploded, and the furniture around her was blown away. After more than 10 years of training together, she and Hela were already very close. Hearing that her student was in danger, Ames was furious. At this time, a virtual screen appeared in the room. It was a call from an administrative officer. Your Excellency Ames, Your Excellency Fu Ding, something has happened. A beyond grade A called Traveler has visited Black Star Palace and challenged the army commander. How should we deal with this? Tell him that His Excellency Black Star is not here, Fu Ding replied. He said that if Black Star is not here, he will fight the Lord's avatar. Tell him that Black Star is very busy right now and has no time to fight him. Your Excellency Fu Ding, he said that he can't come here for nothing. If he can't find Black Star, he can also challenge Her Excellency Dragon Emperor. He's a mage. If he doesn't leave, it'll be difficult to chase him away without some special means. Fu Ding frowned and was about to speak. At this time, Ames patted his shoulder and interrupted him. This person is not here with good intentions. He probably has something up his sleeve. It might be related to Hela's matter. I'll go test him and tell him that he will accept the challenge. Hearing this, Yining, who had been silent all this while, felt that this was a good opportunity to build a relationship. If he helped Black Star's family, there would be great benefits. Thinking of this, he stepped forward and volunteered. Your Excellency Ames, how about I go? How can I let a guest help me? Fu Ding, bring Your Excellency Ning to the observation deck to watch the battle. Ames waved her hand and turned around to leave the room. Her dress danced like a black flower. Her tall figure disappeared from their sight, and only one sentence floated from afar. Don't worry, I'm not that easy to deal with. Without this chapter, I'm already a salted fish. Chapter 1052. Outside Black Star Palace, Traveler sat cross-legged in the air with his staff placed in front of his knees. He was looking at the heavily guarded Black Star Palace from afar. In front of him was the defensive fleet. I came at the right time. Seeing this, Traveler narrowed his eyes. According to the information provided by the Supercluster Alliance, Black Star was a guy who liked to accept challenges, but he could not reject them at this time. He did not even want to use his lord's avatar to fight with him. As expected, Sorokin's information was correct. Hela was already under attack, and Black Star had to maintain his lord's avatar to protect her, so he could not split himself up. The Apostle Weapons and Mechanical Army could fight on multiple fronts at will, but the lord's avatar shared the strength of the main body. Only one avatar could descend at a time. However, Black Star did not use his apostle weapons to fight with me. Looks like Sorokin's guess was right. Black Star has taken his main forces away. He's probably been pretending to be in his base all this time, Traveler thought. Since the opponent is the Dragon Emperor, I have to get rid of her quickly to force Black Star to make a move. Even if he only sent his mechanical army to fight with me, I've already achieved my strategy and dragged down his energy. If he wanted to end the battle quickly, he would have to use extreme methods, which would definitely offend Black Star. However, Traveler did not care. He had a special relationship with some of the supercluster civilizations, and it had already exceeded the scope of personal benefit. On the surface, he was accepting a job, but in reality, as long as this matter was helpful to the civilization he belonged to, he would not hesitate. The Supercluster Alliance hoped that Ethereal or Radiance's operation would succeed. They wanted to see these Beyond Grade as fight among themselves, but they did not want the Beyond Grade as to unite. This seemed to be a headache for the three universal civilizations, but it was more beneficial for the Supercluster. However, the effect depended on the timing. For now, the Supercluster did not want to see this. In the eyes of Supercluster civilizations, Beyond Grade as were important tools that they could make use of. However, this era was still too early, and there were not enough Beyond Grade as. Even if they worked together, their usefulness was limited. The Supercluster Alliance hoped to find a more suitable time. If there were enough Beyond Grade as in the universe by then, they would even unite the Beyond Grade as. Therefore, they did not want to waste this opportunity. Other than the consideration of balancing their strength, the other reason the Supercluster Alliance thought this way was that they were worried that if the Beyond Grade as united in advance, it would lead to another tragedy of the Pinnacles. If the three universal civilizations started to settle accounts, the first to suffer would definitely be the outsiders. Therefore, their supercluster civilizations' allies would be massacred again, and the ones who would suffer the most would be themselves. Traveler waited silently for a while. Finally, Ames flew out of the base and arrived in front of him. The two looked at each other from afar. You want to challenge Black Star? What do you want? Ames narrowed her eyes. Nothing more than admiring the strong and wanting to challenge the peak. What do I want? Traveler's expression was calm. Hela's matter has something to do with you, right? I don't understand what you're talking about. Traveler shook his head. Humph, keep pretending. A green light flashed in Ames' eyes. Her force field surged, and she controlled a few satellite bricks, smashing them toward Traveler. Traveler did not panic. He held his staff with both hands, and misty magic energy gushed out, turning into rune arrays of various sizes, forming an extremely large rune shield. It looked as intricate and exquisite as a clock, blocking the path of the satellite brick. Gotcha! A few satellite bricks slammed into the rune shield, and cracks appeared on the shield, but the attacks were blocked. At the same time, Ames reached out and pulled toward Traveler. A powerful suction force pulled Traveler toward her. While flying in the air, Traveler's eyes focused. Energy surged out of his body, and he stabilized himself. Then, he turned around and released a series of powerful spells. Multidimensional energy turned into colorful spells, rushing toward where Ames was, but they hit nothing. Space rippled, and she had already used Void Jump to move to a spot not far behind Traveler. She raised her eyebrows and glared at Traveler's back. A circle of energy burst out from between her eyebrows. The next moment, Traveler's body froze in the air, unable to move. Force field, gaze of the dragon. The moment she controlled the enemy, her black dress suddenly rose, and Ames' long leg lashed out like a whip. She threw out a force field, going straight for Traveler's back. The force field launched from the main body was the most powerful. This force field was highly compressed into a line, turning into a slash. It looked like she threw out a slash with her leg. Force field, sweeping blade. Whoosh. The chopping wave force field swept across and cut Traveler in half. However, the next moment, the cut Traveler suddenly shrunk and turned into an alchemy puppet. Further away, a puppet that looked like it was made of clay appeared out of thin air. It quickly transformed into Traveler's appearance. Puppet replacement, a simple trick, Traveler said calmly. Ames frowned. She was old friends with Austin, so she knew some knowledge about magic. Puppet replacement was an unpopular spell in the alchemy and curse branch. It had a huge side effect. In terms of the interface, every time puppet replacement was used, the user's health and energy would decrease by 50%, and all their attributes would temporarily decrease by 20%. It was very damaging. Because of its limited practicality, only low-level mages would use it to save their lives. High-level mages had all kinds of shields and many defensive methods, so they basically did not need to use such an unpopular spell. A beyond grade A mage would have dozens of ways to dodge or block that kind of attack. Even if they took the damage head-on, the damage would not be as good as the side effect of puppet replacement. Ames felt that Traveler definitely had a special reason for doing this. She observed carefully and realized that Traveler's temperament seemed to have changed. The corners of his mouth curled up into a faint, strange smile, and he gave off a filthy, evil aura. TSK. Force field control is an Esper ability that can be found anywhere. It's very rare for you to be able to train it to the beyond grade A level. You're very talented in Esper ability control. Maybe one day you'll be able to develop this Esper ability to the extreme and become the super high-risk Esper ability, force control. Although it's only a single word, the meaning is completely different. Traveler's temperament changed, and he suddenly started to talk. Something's wrong. Ames raised her guard. She clenched her hand into a claw and crushed a corner of a satellite brick. A large number of fragments shot out like a meteor shower under the control of the force field. Force field, Dragon Breath Meteor Punch. Traveler used spells to block and counterattack while observing a faint purple mark on the back of his hand. His yellow crystal eyes faintly emitted a purple evil light. My life force isn't enough. I need to sacrifice more. The two of them fought fiercely outside Black Star Palace. Traveler's fighting style was strange, occasionally sacrificing his health, while Ames used many types of force field, such as traction, compression, vibration, explosion, slash, and so on. In her hands, the force field Esper ability displayed very strong control. After bringing Hela out to train, Ames had also improved. Her control of her Esper ability had reached a new level. While the two of them were fighting fiercely, Herluz, who was watching from the watchtower in the base, quietly ordered the fleet to split up and leave, forming a huge encirclement. "Focus," Herluz said in a low voice. Herluz's tone was low. "Preheat the space stabilizing device. Once I give the order, activate the device and trap Traveler." This was related to the Vice Army Commander, so who cared about morality? They directly attacked together. Even Ames did not plan to fight Traveler one-on-one. Regardless of whether it was a misunderstanding or not, it was best to take down Traveler first. Ames went up to fight the opponent, mainly to distract the opponent so that the fleet could secretly set up a trap. She was afraid that the opponent would open a teleportation gate and run away. At the same time, the dynasty received news from Han Shao and immediately mobilized. The Beyond Grade, as in the dynasty's territory, all received missions and set off from their territories, heading toward the Stargate station. In Kant's spaceship, the few Beyond Grade as who were urgently gathered this time all used remote projections to gather there. They hurried along while having a meeting. Ethereal really doesn't learn his lesson. During the battle on Planet Lighthouse more than 20 years ago, he was taught a lesson by me and Black Star. Less than 30 years later, he actually came out to cause trouble again. Baoni curled his lips, and a few sparks flew out from between his teeth. The other party's actions are very sudden. Their target is Hela. We're the closest now, so it's best if we go over as soon as possible. Kant also became serious. Most of the dynasty's allies were assigned to the flickering world, and many of them were participating in the free competition outside. They were too far away and could not make it in time. Currently, the Beyond Grade as in the dynasty's territory could reach the frontline battlefield of the Black Star Corps as soon as possible. For now, only Kant's Lord's avatar, the recuperating Ravenlaudi, the slacking Baoni, and the idle Kohler were there. I heard that Kasui's avatar is also there. Isn't it a little dangerous? Kohler whispered. Kant's Kazalin glared at him. Useless. With me here, what are you afraid of? I can take down all of Ethereal alone. Really? Kohler had a doubtful expression. Nonsense, of course it's fake. Why are you still asking if you know? Can't you just let me enjoy myself? Kant rolled his eyes. If I had that ability, Dark Lord would be my follower. Ravenlaudi did not interrupt. He remained silent with a gloomy expression. He had just been beaten up by Han Shao not long ago, so he was actually not very willing to help. However, every time he helped, the dynasty would provide a sizable reward and merit. It was a sponsored partnership. Forget it. I heard that the Black Star Corps is in a critical situation this time. If I help him get through this, he'll owe me a favor. By then, I can ask Black Star to get me a universal treasure. Thinking of this possibility, Ravenlaud's fighting spirit was instantly ignited. At the same time, after the dynasty sent out reinforcements, the upper echelons also paid close attention to this matter. In the conference room of the dynasty's mother planet, Ruler Urinril looked at the frontline battle footage sent back by the Black Star Corps with a cold expression. The remote projections of the dynasty's upper echelons on both sides also turned to look at the footage. The atmosphere was solemn. Ethereal still refuses to give up and wants to harm our ally again. Urinril glanced around coldly. What do you all think? Everyone exchanged glances. After a while, Bekarodi raised his hand and slowly said, Your Excellency Ruler, according to the intelligence, Ethereal's target is Hela, and Hela is not our Beyond Grade A ally. Hela is the Deputy Army Commander of the Black Star Corps, so the Black Star Corps is of course our ally. But she has always refused to join the dynasty. Your Excellency Ruler, I suggest that we separate the two matters. Black Star is Black Star, and Hela is Hela. Now that Black Star has asked for reinforcements in his own name, we're helping him out of the agreement. However, this is equivalent to him using the dynasty's strength for nothing and benefiting his own faction. My idea is we can help our ally, but we can't be used without any cost. Protecting Black Star is what we should do, but protecting a beyond grade A who is not our ally. No, I think we have to make a condition. We can't help him for free, Bekarodi said righteously. Then what do you think? Urinril frowned slightly. If Black Star is only able to get through this because of our help, I think we have to make a condition. Hela has to join the dynasty. Of course, she can continue to serve the Black Star Corps, but she has to become the dynasty's ally and sign an agreement. That makes sense. Urinril pondered for a while. What if Hela is killed? It's a loss for the dynasty, but there are still other benefits. If Hela dies, Black Star will definitely be on the opposite side of Ethereal. The meeting of the gods will basically be nullified, and the Beyond Grade as won't be able to unite, eliminating a threat. At the same time, having an external enemy will be beneficial to pulling the relationship between the dynasty and Black Star closer, and his loyalty will be strengthened. Therefore, whether the rescue is successful or not, the dynasty will definitely benefit, Bekarodi said. Many of the senior officials nodded. Logically speaking, they felt that Bekarodi's analysis made sense. Urinril did not comment. She tapped the table with her finger. Seeing that no one had anything else to say, she said with a deep voice, "No matter what, support the Black Star Corps with all your strength first. We'll talk about the rest later." Yes. The remote projections disappeared one after another. Urinril left the conference room. Dark Emperor Claudi, who had been waiting outside the door, covered her with the ruler's coat and followed behind. After walking for a while, Urinril suddenly said, "Claudi, what do you think is the probability of Hela being safe this time?" "Very low." Claudi was expressionless. "Even with the dynasty's help?" "That's right." "Why? Radiance will not just stand by and watch." "How do you know?" "The Mecha Empire told me." Urinril was speechless. "All right, this is a very good reason. I have nothing to say." It seems like the Mecha Empire really cares about the Beyond Grade A battlefront. Urinril stopped and turned to look at Claudi. "You're also a Beyond Grade A super. Don't you have any opinion on this?" Claudi's face was calm. "My first identity is a member of the Red Empire. My second identity is the captain of the personal guards of the dynasty ruler. My third identity is a Beyond Grade A." Urinril shook her head and turned around. She was silent for a moment before speaking softly. "You've been my personal guard for too long. Stop your duties after a while. Go out and kill a few Beyond Grade as before coming back. Don't let this universe forget the name of the Dark Emperor." "Okay," Claudi calmly replied. "At the same time, in Beast Ancestor's stronghold, ha ha ha, they've indeed made their move." In the hall, Garutan laughed loudly. His powerful lungs emitted sound waves that almost materialized, causing the entire base to tremble. Just a moment ago, he learned from Sorokin that the information he leaked had sent Hela into a desperate situation. His plan had succeeded, and he had taken his revenge. Garutan could not help but feel very happy. Sorokin's manifestation stood in front of him with a smile on his face. "Your Excellency Beast Ancestor, your territory is not far from the battlefield. Do you want to join in the fun?" Hearing this, Garutan stopped laughing. His sharp eyes stared straight at Sorokin, and he said with a hoarse voice, "Are you trying to bewitch me again?" "I wouldn't dare." Sorokin hurriedly waved his hands. "Humph." Garutan snorted coldly. He casually picked up the large wine glass beside him and gulped it down. "Anyway, I'm just going to watch the show here and wait for the news of Hela's death. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry, I'm not trying to instigate you to join the battle. The dynasty will definitely send reinforcements at this time, and they're on the way. If the dynasty's reinforcements arrive, Hela might be able to escape this calamity. So, instead of sitting here doing nothing, why don't you secretly help? What idea do you have now?" "According to my calculations, The first step of Ethereal attacking the Black Star stronghold will definitely be to remove the Stargate stations and activate the space-stabilizing device to cut off Hela's escape route. Therefore, if the dynasty's reinforcements want to come, they can only go through the nearby Stargate. Your Excellency Beast Ancestor, if the nearby Stargate stations are closed or removed, the dynasty's reinforcements will have to take a longer route. This way, Hela will be isolated for a longer period of time, and the success rate of the plan will greatly increase. Garutan's eyes sparkled. He put down his wineglass and said, What you said makes sense, Sorokin smiled. Primeval Star River, mechanical race territory. Manison slowly opened his eyes and opened an encrypted communication channel. Morniza, are you guys on the move? Teacher, the multidimensional sky opening device has started to activate. We'll set off at any time. Got it. Manison nodded, changed the channel, and spoke to the Apostle Weapons team. Keep a close eye on Beast Ancestor. He might make a move. No matter what he wants to do, stop him. Understood. After giving a few orders, Manison closed his eyes again and softly muttered to himself. Black Star, this is all I can do for you today. Don't disappoint me. Chapter 1053. Rumble. The death energy was like a surging red flood, sweeping across the land and crashing into an energy shield, triggering an endless amount of sparks and electric arcs. Mechanical catastrophe. Francisco's Lord's avatar opened his arms and maintained the shield, fighting against the flood of death energy. The patterns on his mechanical body all lit up with the bright psionic light, and the thrusters on his back were already at full power, shooting out 6 deep blue tail flames dozens of meters long. However, he could not stop himself from retreating and was pushed back by the death energy. Turning around, he saw Red Devil Tolian and Desolate Beast Mercer hiding behind his shield, occasionally popping their heads out to cast shockwave blast or offensive spells before quickly retreating. Seeing this, mechanical catastrophe, Francois was furious. You're clearly a melee fighter, yet you're acting like cowards, hiding behind me. What, are you two using me as a cover? Stop messing around, attack. Francisco was furious. The battle had already lasted for a while, and the situation on several battlefields had changed. Black Star and Kasuna were still fighting fiercely, and more mechanical troops broke through Kasuna's defense line and came to support Hela. Since Hela had more and more helpers, she was free to strengthen her attacks, causing Tolian and Mercer to become more and more cautious. Originally, the three of them still had the upper hand, but now the situation was showing signs of equalizing. The main reason was the mechanical troops that Kasuna had leaked out. With Black Star's mechanical force bonuses, they were quite strong and could not be ignored. They perfectly played the role of the best teammates and stirred up *T on the battlefield. The fleet battlefield outside the atmosphere was not looking good either. The mechanical troops controlled by Francisco were being invaded by Han Zhao's virtual presence. From time to time, mechanical soldiers would turn around and attack their own people, causing a portion of the fleet to break free from the restraints and provide support to Hela with long-range attacks, distracting the three of them. Mechanical catastrophe. Francisco had to deal damage, tank damage, restrain the fleet, and even split his attention to guard the mechanical army's underwear in the virtual world to prevent Black Star from tearing them apart. Being both a father and a mother at the same time, Francisco felt very tired. It's too hard for me. I can't even sit in jail in peace. Only Sagman's side could give him some comfort. At this moment, Sagman and Taylor were in a good situation, and they were about to destroy all the Stargates. Once the two of them complete their mission, they'll be able to come over and help. At that time, we'll be able to break the stalemate and obtain an absolute advantage. We'll be able to crush Hela to death. Francis thought. He knew that the Arcane Church had secretly provided Taylor with a special trump card that could control Hela. According to the plan, once the 5 of them met up, they would use it to deal a fatal blow to Hela. This trump card was a few magic scrolls, all of which were one-time consumable items. They stored extremely powerful ethereal exclusive forbidden spells, fused with the power of divine spells. Among them, the most powerful one was called Forbidden Spell, Sorrowful Nun's Embrace. This forbidden spell required the cooperation of many people to cast, and it was also very time-consuming to cast. However, it could be cast instantaneously when stored in a magic scroll. Because the Arcane Church had a period of prosperity for the mages a long time ago, many beyond grade A forbidden spell scrolls were passed down. The forbidden spell stored in this scroll was set up by 4 beyond grade A mages, and one of them was even a peak beyond grade A mage. As a result, the power of this scroll was extremely high. Only Taylor, Sagman, and Francis knew about these scrolls. The other teammates did not know about it, including Kasuyi. The Arcane Church knew Kasuyi's character. He was already unwilling to be surrounded by so many people to bully a new beyond grade A super. If he knew that Ethereal was planning to use such a one-time trump card in advance, it might cause some trouble. Therefore, Ethereal did not tell him about it. Their only request for Kasuyi was to block Black Star. As for why they only told Taylor, Sagman, and Francis, it was because the 3 of them were the most trustworthy and had the least integrity. Anyway, as long as they used the scroll, the other teammates would focus their fire on them as well. On the other side, the Crimson Snake had already transformed into its combat form, covering its face. Hela's figure was nimble as she shuttled through the battlefield, scattering death energy while feeling anxious. She also understood the situation. Although she could hold on for a while with the help of the mechanical army, she knew that this stalemate would be broken very soon. As long as Sagman and Taylor joined the battle, she would definitely not be able to hold on for much longer. If she did not do anything, she would die a slow death. Although Han Shao had just sent her a message saying that his main body was on the way, Hela would not completely rely on others in times of danger. Instead, she would try her best to save herself. The reinforcements have yet to arrive, and the other 2 strong enemies will join the battle at any time. If I want to live, I have to survive the siege of the 5 of them. Even with the help of the mechanical army and the fleet, it's still a hopeless situation. I still have to rely on myself. What other trump cards do I have? Hela kept herself calm and quickly thought about how to get out of this situation. Ideas popped up one after another, but they were all eliminated by her. Very soon, there was only one way left in her mind. I can only try my best, Hela clenched her teeth. The thick beam pierced through the Stargate station of the last stronghold. The broken parts flew everywhere. The energy blast of the explosion made the shields of the defense fleet around flicker, triggering plasma arcs one after another. The Stargate station has been destroyed. Let's go. Sagman did not want to continue fighting. He suddenly turned into a cluster of light golden light that enveloped Taylor. Then, he suddenly accelerated, turned into a stream of light, and left the battlefield of the Stargate station. Dragging a light golden tail that had the texture of particles, he headed straight for Hela in the distance. Because he knew that activating the space-stabilizing device would affect his summoning skills, Taylor had made preparations in advance. He had already prepared a bunch of summoning scrolls, and when the teleportation device appeared, he crazily tore them apart, creating a rather large number of summoned beasts. As for himself, he temporarily changed his style from the summoning style to the canon style to adapt to the environment. He was good at summoning, but that did not mean that he did not learn the spells of other schools. It was just that he was not that good at it. A beyond grade A super basically had many backup battle styles, especially mages who were known for having many tricks up their sleeve. No matter what battle style they were good at, they could always turn it into a cannon when needed. Regardless of whether the firepower was strong or not, as long as they could shoot, it would be fine. Under Kasui's control, a small number of mechanical soldiers were able to pass through, and they tried to stop the two of them. However, in light form, Sagman was extremely nimble. He took many twists and turns, but he did not engage the mechanical army head-on. It was only because Taylor was a beyond grade A that he was carrying. If it were an ordinary person, they would have probably vomited their guts out. Sagman's Esper ability was related to light energy, so his turning speed was extremely fast. He drew a huge circle, shook off the mechanical soldiers that tried to stop him, and entered the battlefield where Hela was, hovering in midair of the planet. "You're finally here. Hurry and help." Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco had had enough of orphan teammates, so he was as excited as if he had seen his family. Sagman and Taylor looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. Create an opportunity and use the forbidden spell scroll. The two of them did not say anything and joined the battle. Light energy shockwaves and offensive spells were cast out like they did not cost money, showing their explosive nature. Rumble! Explosions occurred in midair, and mechanical soldiers were shot down one after another. Hela was instantly surrounded by danger, and she had no choice but to stop all her attacks and focus on defense. After the two of them joined the team, their combat power was completely overwhelming. It was like a seesaw. With the help of the fleet and the mechanical army, Hela finally managed to pull the slanted board to the center. At this time, two 300-kilogram babies came from the other side and sat down, sending Hela, who was on the other side, flying. At the same time, in the battlefield outside the atmosphere, Han Zhao's Lord's avatar glanced at Hela's predicament and said in Kasui's exclusive chat window, "Hela won't be able to block the attacks of 5 people. Don't block me and let me through." "How do you want to act?" Kasui asked. "Give me a hard one. Send my Lord's avatar and part of my mechanical army over. Ethereal asked me to stall you, so it's impossible for me to send you back. Furthermore, if you join that battlefield, I'll have to follow you. At that time, I'll have to make a move on Hela, and she'll be in more danger." Kasui shook his head slightly. Acting was acting, and he did not plan to offend Ethereal. Although the water he had given in was enough to form an ocean, Kasui could not do it openly. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain. "Then why don't you use an AoE attack at the critical moment and interrupt your teammate's attack? Just say that it was an accident. My psychic power can be retracted and released freely. There's no possibility of accidental injury. Then, why don't you just let me destroy your avatar? That's the most convenient. No, let's not talk about whether your Lord's avatar has the ability to defeat my avatar. I still have to stay here to prevent any accidents. That old guy from the Mecha Empire said that Radiance is going to make a move. I have to pretend to snatch Hela from them and restrain some of them." Han Xiao was speechless. What was the self-cultivation of an actor? This was it. This was so professional that it touched Ethereal. "This won't work, that won't work. What should we do?" "Radiance will come out at any time," Kasui said. "At that time, I can turn around and attack Radiance, and her situation will not be so dangerous. If Hela can hold on for now, it's best to wait and see what happens. I have to think about it." Han Xiao pondered. The two actors were quietly looking at the script, but at this time, something unexpected happened. Swoosh! Under the crazy attacks of the 5 people, Hela revealed a slight opening. Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco took the opportunity and clapped his hands, releasing an extremely strong plasma electromagnetic field that passed through the gap created by the death energy and applied on Hela. Sizzle! The electric arcs crackled and Hela's body froze. Her movements revealed a bigger opening. Sagman and Francisco chased after her and threw out even more powerful control skills to restrain Hela. Strange, since we joined the team, she has been a little distracted. This thought flashed through Sagman's mind, but before he could think about it, he shouted at Taylor in the mental group chat. Use the scroll. I've already prepared it. Without saying anything, Taylor tore open a black magic scroll with white patterns. The scroll suddenly shone brightly. Walala! It was as if a 1,000-year-old cage had been opened. Countless pale white magic runes shot out of the scroll like wild dragons that had just broken free, all of them hitting Hela. The next moment, the surface of Crimson Snake, first generation's armor, was covered with strange pale white runes. The overall outline was like the shape of an enchanting woman, and it attached itself to Hela's body in the form of a rune pattern. The female pattern slowly opened her arms and made a hugging motion. A strange force suddenly descended, and Hela realized that her mobility had been sealed. Her body was fixed in midair, and her energy quickly calmed down. She could not move at all. Forbidden spell, Weeping Nun's Embrace. Focus fire. The control time was limited, so Sagman did not dare waste any time. He roared in the group chat and used all his attack methods to bombard Hela. Tolian and Mercer immediately reacted. Although they did not know what was going on, they would not let go of such a good opportunity to attack. They both unleashed their strongest attacks. Rumble! Hela's figure was instantly drowned in the colorful explosion of energy. It looked bright and dazzling, but it was actually very powerful. Kasui's doppelganger suddenly turned around. Forbidden spell scroll? Did Su Ling still have a trick up his sleeve? Seeing this, he did not intend to negotiate anymore. Psychic power gushed out, grabbed all the mechanical troops including Han Zhao's Lord's avatar, and threw them directly toward Hela's battlefield to provide him with acceleration. Damn, he's really decisive. Flying in midair, Han Zhao used Kasui's momentum to accelerate toward Hela's position. However, he was not in a hurry. Kasui did not know Hela's situation and thought that Hela was in danger. However, Han Zhao knew that Hela had the ability to instantly revive. Although this wave of attacks seemed fierce, it would not be able to kill Hela. It would only be able to knock out her revival ability. However, this means that I might have to use a backup plan. Han Zhao frowned. If Hela's instant revival ability was not knocked out, he could take the risk later. However, now Han Zhao felt that he might have to change his plan. However, before he arrived at the battlefield, a dense life energy suddenly erupted at Hela's position. Woo! Golden life energy shot up into the sky like a fountain. The vigorous aura made everyone stunned at the same time. Sagman and the other four, who were bombarding indiscriminately, were shocked to find that although they kept causing heavy damage to Hela, those shocking injuries recovered in a breath's time. After the effect of the forbidden spell ended, Hela broke free from the shackles and escaped. Her Crimson First Edition was already in tatters, revealing large areas of skin covered in bloody wounds. However, the life energy nourished her body, and the wounds that opened up closed in the blink of an eye. Not even a scar was left behind, and her skin became smooth and white again. Sagman and the others widened their eyes in shock. How is this possible? Such a terrifying recovery ability. How does she have such strength? Also, why does it feel a little familiar? The next moment, everyone turned their heads and looked at Han Zhao's Lord's avatar in midair in shock. Isn't this Black Star's ability? Why does Hela have it too? If there were any similarities between the two of them, could this be the traditional ability of Blue Star people? At this moment, Kasui's voice sounded faintly. Black Star, are you Blue Star people all unkillable? No, we don't have that kind of talent. Han Zhao smiled awkwardly. If it wasn't his lord's avatar but his main body, he would probably take a deep breath. Hela had opened up the distance life link with Aurora during the battle. Otherwise, how could she burst out with life energy? She actually learned a new ability at the last minute. Little sister, are you also a main character type character? That doesn't make sense. You're clearly a villain. Han Xiao was speechless. To Hela, activating the distance life link with Aurora was equivalent to opening up her conception and governing vessels, and she could fly into the sky in an instant. Her combat power didn't increase, but she always had a super healer with her. As long as Aurora didn't exhaust her stamina, Hela had terrifying recovery ability, endurance, and endurance. Han Xiaoxin's head twitched, and he almost wanted to call the police. I thought I was already crazy enough, but I didn't expect you to be such a cheat. If Hela also had this accessory of Aurora in his previous life, he didn't dare to imagine what the result would be. It was a pity that before Hela's cheat could be obtained, it was destroyed by the Germinal organization leader. Again, Hela's aura surged, and her battle intent surged. The current Aurora could already use this method to fight side by side with her, helping her escape a life and death crisis. As the saying went, sisters of the same mind could cut through metal. Hela's mentality was already different from before, and she didn't reject Aurora's help. The recovery of a beyond grade A super required even more life force energy, but Aurora had also entered the calamity grade, so her stamina was long enough to back her up, giving her the ability to do whatever she wanted. Hearing Hela's clamor, Sagman and the others were bewildered and didn't know if they should continue to attack. Han Xiao stopped in midair, and did not continue to approach. Kasuyi also watched from afar. Everyone stopped what they were doing. They looked at each other and stared at each other. Suddenly, the atmosphere was filled with a strange atmosphere. However, at this moment, everyone present suddenly felt a strange fluctuation, and they all turned their heads to look at it. Buzz! Not far away from the stronghold, a Radiant Federation fleet broke through the space stabilization device and appeared on the battlefield. In front of the fleet, 7 beyond grade as stood in a row, looking at everyone present. The gazes of both sides collided in midair. Kasuyi looked up and said, "They're here." Seeing such a flashy entrance, Han Xiao could not help but praise the other party in his heart. Radiant Federation, join the battle. Chapter 1054. In the Black Star Palace, the battle between Ames and Traveler was reaching its climax. Under the control of the force field, the satellite brick was like a gigantic iron fist. It shattered Traveler's magic shield again and again, sending him flying everywhere like a baseball. It seemed like Ames had the absolute upper hand and was beating Traveler into a pulp. However, she was not happy at all. Instead, she became even more vigilant. There was a reason why Traveler was so weak. For some reason, he had used doll replacement many times. He was selling his health like crazy, and his attributes were dropping like crazy. It was as if he was intentionally hurting himself. At the same time, the uncomfortable evil aura around him became more and more obvious. Things might change if we delay. We can't continue fighting with him. Ames looked around and nodded at the base in the distance. The officers on the watchtower could see her movement. She was hinting to activate the space-stabilizing trap and cut off Traveler's escape route. Seeing this, Herluz immediately gave the order. The ambush team is in position. Listen up, activate. Before he could finish, the situation suddenly changed. Suddenly, Traveler's body exploded with purple and green energy. It was so thick that it looked like a flowing liquid. It looked like the tentacles of an octopus, with particles that looked like suction cup. It also looked like boiling potions that kept bubbling and expanding. The energy twisted and danced crazily, condensing into translucent greenish-purple energy tentacles that were almost solid. Instead of saying that the Traveler had released the energy, it was more accurate to say that the energy tentacles were pushing open the Traveler's body and trying to squeeze themselves out. Ames's eyes narrowed. She did not have the habit of watching others transform. Without saying anything, she gathered her force field. Circles of force field spun rapidly around her like small whirlpools. They quickly turned into the shape of a drill. After pausing for a moment, they suddenly shot toward Traveler. The next moment, the purple and green energy around Traveler twisted and wrapped around him, forming an outer layer. The force field hit the outer layer but could not penetrate it. It only pushed him a distance away. He looked and scathed. "Ha ha ha ha, it's useless, useless, useless." Traveler laughed like a madman. It was as if he had become a completely different person. His entire being was filled with an indescribable evil aura. He gave off a very filthy feeling. Just by looking at him, a large number of army warriors felt their hearts palpitating and their breaths short. In the way the interface described it, everyone had passed a willpower test. Ames kept attacking, but the purple energy surrounding Traveler was extremely tough. It actually blocked all of her attacks. She did not know what kind of energy it was. At this moment, Traveler suddenly raised his hands high, his eyes filled with eagerness. "The expert in front of me is the sacrifice your husband has offered to me. Answer my call, my lovely wife." Rumble. Energy blossomed with a loud bang, spreading out endlessly. The black velvet-like space was dyed purple and green, and the two colors intertwined with each other. The nature of this area changed at this moment. Warning! Warning! The space-time coefficient is fluctuating violently, and the wave crest has broken through the stable safety line of reality. Space stabilizer overloaded. Warning! The stabilizing anchor was damaged. Stability failure, requesting an increase in the number of space stabilizers. Analyzing event model. Analysis complete. Match similarity rate, 100%. Event. Secondary dimension descends. If space was a piece of paper, the spacetime stability coefficient would be the degree of wrinkling on the paper. The more stable it was, the smoother the paper would be. At this moment, this piece of paper was crumpled into a ball, and another piece of paper representing a secondary dimension wrapped it up. Secondary dimensions were dangerous and wonderful, and they were born for different reasons. If they descended into the main universe, they would change the nature of the space in a certain area, turning it into a secondary dimension. Most of the time, this was a disaster. Han Xiao had once seen a treasure called the Shadow Lantern in the Dynasty. The wick of the lantern was a fragment of the shadow dimension's origin energy, and its effect was to summon the shadow dimension. Traveler's current actions were similar to this ability. This secondary dimension filled with evil aura slowly opened outside Black Star Palace. Ames and the many fleets were in the dark purple space, as if they had been swallowed by this secondary dimension. Endless energy tentacles stretched out of thin air, each of them at least 100,000 meters long. They waved unconsciously, and the fleets were smashed into chaos, their shields flashing with electric arcs. Ames frowned. She controlled her force field and constantly crushed the tentacles, but new tentacles continued to stretch out from this secondary dimension. Seeing this, she could only target Traveler's body and continuously release her force field. Bang! Bang! Traveler did not dodge and just floated in place. His palms with purple imprints kept waving, and purple-green waves of energy followed the trajectory of his palms. It was as if the energy was endless, and under his control, it easily extinguished Ames's force field. I was once defeated by Olu and witnessed his terrifying ability. This prompted me to embark on the path of pursuing secondary dimensions. Purple and green lines spread on Traveler's face, and his condition continued to recover. He laughed wildly. Finally, I found a new power. Let me introduce, this secondary dimension is called Evil Convergence, and it is my wife. In its body I can absorb endless energy. Tell Black Star to come out. You're no match for me. You haven't defeated me yet. Ames narrowed her eyes, and a solemn look flashed across her face. Traveler glanced around and saw countless fleets rising from Black Star Palace, setting up more space stabilization anchors around. Seeing this, he did not care and smiled coldly. After causing such a huge commotion, Black Star would definitely not sit back and do nothing. His goal had been achieved, and now it was just a matter of when Black Star would come. However, he still had to add fuel to the fire and continue to put pressure on Black Star. With this thought in mind, Traveler looked at Ames and licked his lip. Then I'll chew you up first. Emerald Star Cluster, Black Star Core Frontline Battlefield. The appearance of the Radiant Federation attracted the attention of everyone present. They all stopped what they were doing and had different expressions on their faces. The ones who appeared were the 6 people led by Serene, and Guardian Romo, who was providing remote support, was not present. 126 Beyond Grade as Hella's heart sank, and the excitement of opening the distanceless life link quickly faded. If these people were here to take her life, she felt that she had no chance of surviving. Even though she was connected to Aurora's life energy, Aurora's stamina was limited, and it would be exhausted sooner or later. With so many Beyond Grade as working together, it was enough to kill her countless times. The way she saw it, even if her recovery speed was amazing, it was only a matter of time before she died in the face of such overwhelming strength. Plus, having a strong recovery speed did not mean that she would not be controlled or captured by the enemy. Sister. Aurora's anxious call came through telepathy. Hella felt the life energy continuously flowing out of her body, and her sharp eyes gradually softened. She subconsciously turned to look at Han Zhao's Lord's avatar in the sky. When they were besieged earlier, she had analyzed the situation and felt that the only way to save herself was to successfully connect with Aurora. Therefore, during the battle, she had split her attention to cooperate with Aurora and tried to establish a link time and time again. It was unknown if it was because of the eruption of her potential at the critical moment of life and death, or for some unknown reason, but the secondary dimension that acted as an obstacle had some changes and gradually stopped absorbing life energy midway. Once this obstacle was eliminated, the link between the two was successfully established. Aurora could finally share her energy with Hella through the soul and bloodline connection. Just as everyone was watching, the Radiant Federation's fleet moved. A large number of drones and mechanical troops were dispatched to attack the defense fleet of the planet's stronghold. The other spaceships quickly changed their formation. The engineering spaceships came to the edge of the formation, released arc-shaped mechanical parts, and started to assemble the multi-dimensional sky-opening transportation device. They also needed to encircle the fleet vertically and horizontally. The 6 Radiant Beyond Grade as quickly approached the battlefield where Hella and the others were. Serene crossed his arms, looked down at Hella, Sagman, and the others and said coldly, "Looks like we arrived at just the right time." Kasui's avatar slowly flew over. "Even Radiant is involved. Humph, your ethereal is really useless. You still haven't killed Hella," Serene said coldly. "Since Radiant is here, their goal must be the same as ours. Why don't we work together to kill Hella?" Sagman said with a deep voice. "She just revealed a recovery ability similar to Black Star's. If we work together, we will have a higher chance of killing her." Hades rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "All right, since we all have the same goal, let's form an alliance." Serene paused, thought about it, and did not explain their true goal. There were many people in Ethereal, and it was not the right time to reveal their card. It was best to work together first. Hearing this, Sagman and the others were overjoyed, but Hella's heart sank. "Looks like today is the day I die." This time, Han Zhao's Lord's avatar landed beside her, took out a new set of compressed orbs for the Crimson Snake first-generation mechanical suit, opened it instantly, and helped Hella change her mechanical suit. Hella looked at him, hesitated for a moment, and said softly in the communication channel, "Black Star, if I die today, please take care of my sister in the future." "You won't die today." Han Zhao shook his head. "There's no need to comfort me. There are more than 10 Beyond Grade as here. This situation is even more terrifying than what you faced back then. Even if you come personally, You won't be able to save me. Don't come with your main body. Go, don't save me. You'll be in danger too. You won't know until you try. Han Shao did not comment. Hela shook her head, paused, and said in a low voice, I owe you too much. You've been taking care of me for decades. Actually, I'm really thankful to you. Han Shao looked sideways. Why are you suddenly saying your last words? This is not like you. He, don't worry, I won't wait for death. Even if I die, I'll cause the greatest damage to the enemy. I've been chasing after your back, and before I die, I'm finally qualified to stand beside you and fight side by side with you. I'm already very satisfied. Hela subconsciously reached out her hand, but she suddenly stopped halfway. After hesitating for a moment, she changed her action to patting Han Zhao's lord's avatar's shoulder and sighed softly. The next second, her face became as cold as ice again, and energy burst out. Alone, she charged toward the dozen beyond grade as in front of her. She only felt that it was a pity that the one beside her was not Han Zhao's main body. However, before I die, I should be able to see you one last time, courting death. Sagman snorted coldly and led his companions to fight Hela again. In midair, just as Serene was about to join the battle with his companions, he suddenly sensed danger. Boom! Boom! An extremely powerful psychic energy swept past, and the people of Radiance were shocked. They hurriedly used various means to defend themselves, but they were still sent flying. The psychic energy also contained a powerful psychic attack. Many people trembled, and their heads felt like they were about to explode. This change shocked everyone. Sagman and the other four quickly stopped and looked up in shock. The attacker was their leader, Kasuyi's avatar. Didn't they already become temporary allies? Why did His Excellency Kasuyi attack the people of Radiance? Hela's movements also paused, and she was extremely confused. Strange, why did the enemy suddenly have an internal conflict? Serene shook his head and got rid of the slight dizziness. He glared at Kasuyi's avatar not far away. What do you mean? With his hands behind his back, Kasuyi slowly said, The goal of Radiance is not just to kill Hela, right? You want to capture her alive and use her as a bargaining chip to force Black Star to do something for you. Serene's eyes changed. Kasuyi was so sure that he must have received intelligence. There was no point in pretending anymore, so he did not bother to hide anymore. He coldly said, Where did you get your intelligence from? Based on your usual style, I can guess, Kasuyi said calmly. You only interfered in the middle of the battle and even brought the multidimensional sky-opening transportation device. Compared to killing, it's more like kidnapping. The 10,000 deity scepter is still in your hands. If I'm not wrong, you want to use Hela as a trade in exchange for Black Star to remove the seal on the 10,000 deity scepter for you. At this point, Kasuyi's psychic power suddenly surged as if he was angry. If it were anything else, it would be fine, but the 10,000 deity scepter is Ethereal's most precious treasure. The priority is Hela's life and death. Radiance still refuses to give up. Even if I give up the mission today, I'll stop you from kidnapping Hela. No matter what, the 10,000 deity scepter cannot be used by Radiance. Feeling Kasuyi's aura soaring into the sky, Han Shao immediately looked over. Damn, best actor, you're even making up for it. This way, even if his actions were reported to the upper echelons of Ethereal would only praise Kasuyi for doing a good job. He suddenly thought, wait, this might not be an act. It might be the truth. Amazing, the highest level of acting is to even believe yourself. If they don't award you an Oscar, it's because they don't know what's good for them. P.S. There was a clerical error in the previous chapter. Radiance sent 6 people, not 7. One of them was long range. Also, I'll recommend the book The Mythical Three Kingdoms. It's a very famous old book. When I read it in the past, it only had 3 to 4 million words. Now it's over 10 million words. Poison grass even healed me to show respect. Chapter 1055. The last time I applied for leave was on July 20th. Current progress, 5/7 PS. From the beginning of the year until now, I have only rested for 5 days. On average, I only have 1 day off every 2 months. I feel that there is hope for the annual mission to be completed. SJSJ. PS2. Chidian's official website said that this chapter should be restored tomorrow. It seems that the previous chapters will also be restored. The last day of the National Day of Godly Mechanic, 1 day off, May 7th, please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 1056. Radiance wanted to capture hostages to force Black Star to unseal the 10,000 deity scepter. As expected, as soon as this was said, the expressions of Sagman and the others changed. Their gazes toward Radiance were filled with hostility and alertness. They did not doubt Kasui's judgment at all, not only because he was the leader of this operation, but also because his guess did make some sense. The people of the Arcane Church were already prejudiced against the Radiant Federation. If not for Radiance betraying them during the Battle of Planet Lighthouse, Ethereal would not have lost Ninja and the 10,000 deity scepter. Now that Kasui said that Radiance wanted to capture hostages, Sagman and the others recalled Radiance's style of doing things and felt that this was something Radiance would do. Ethereal and Radiance had been arguing for too long regarding the 10,000 deity scepter. The reason they could endure was because they knew that the 10,000 deity scepter was sealed, and Radiance could not use it or study it. This was why they could tolerate the 10,000 deity scepter being temporarily occupied by Radiance. However, if the 10,000 deity scepter was unsealed, Ethereal would definitely not be able to sit still. Compared to Hela's life, the 10,000 deity scepter was obviously more important. Radiance could not be allowed to succeed. Of course, this was not something Kasui had guessed. It was also something the Mecha Empire had told him. Although Radiance was the old boss of the Mecha Empire, from Manason's plan, he naturally did not wish for a weapon like the 10,000 deity scepter to be used by any civilization. In his eyes, the seal was the best outcome. In that case, let's talk with our fists. Sierran's face turned cold, and his aura exploded. Powerful pugilist flames gushed out, and his voice reverberated like thunder. The few of you go and deal with Hela first. I'll deal with Kasui. He's just a doppelganger. I'll go and support you guys after I destroy him. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his fist and shot out a powerful external energy fluctuation that was blazing, brutal, dazzling, and resplendent like the sun. Just like his nickname, the Star Crusher, his martial arts style was known for crushing his opponents head-on. As a pinnacle beyond grade A pugilist, Garutan's style was violent and ferocious. On the other hand, Sierran's style was unstoppable. Compared to Garutan, Sierran's style was more upright and forceful. It wasn't the kind of fearsome ferocity. Instead, it was like the rotation of the stars and the overturning of the world, with an irreversible feeling. Not to be outdone, Kasui also burst forth with a powerful psychic power to meet the attack head-on. Rumble when the two collided, it was as if heaven and earth were falling apart. A blinding light suddenly lit up, and the world seemed to have turned into a vast expanse of white. Bang 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 bang. Sierran and Kasui exchanged blows, and then it was as if they turned into two intertwined phantoms. Their pugilist flames and void psychic power clashed thousands of times in an instant, creating shockwaves that rose into the sky and opened up another battlefield outside the atmosphere. At the same time, Radiance's group of 5 ignored Sierran and quickly descended, facing Sagman's group of 5 from afar. Han Zhao's Lord's avatar stood on the side with Hela. The forces on the battlefield became 3 sides, forming a triangular situation. The atmosphere was on the verge of exploding, and it could turn into a fierce battle at any time. Are these the 5 that came? Han Shao sized up Radiance's lineup and nodded. He knew the combat strength of these people very well. Not only did he remember their performance in his previous life, but he also remembered the detailed information he had gathered during the meeting of the gods. The 5 people from Radiance before him were basically all mid-level combatants. The strongest among them should be Crystal Soul, who had a universal treasure called Star Power Crown. His position was similar to Ethereal Sagman, so he could be considered a mid-upper level combatant. The weakest was Hades, who had joined not long ago. His combat strength was only at the level of Tolian. The more noteworthy one was Morniza. Han Shao remembered that she was a former student of the Mecha Empire. Before she became famous, she followed the Mecha Empire to learn about machinery. Later on, she stepped into the Beyond Grade A field. He did not know if she was an actress now. Just as Han Shao was thinking, on the other side, Sagman's group of 5 was in a dilemma. They did not know whether to fight Hela or Radiance's group of 5 first. If they fought Hela first, Radiance's group of 5 would interfere from the side. If they were not careful, Radiance might even succeed. However, if they fought Radiance first, although their priority was higher, they felt that it would be very silly to leave Hela, who was halfway through the fight, and help her fight others. The Ethereal Factions group was in a dilemma. At this time, Hades from Radiance suddenly spoke in the wide area channel. The 5 of you from the Arcane Church, although we have different goals, we can't come here for nothing. If you fight us instead, we'll all become the joke of the universe. Why don't we get rid of Black Star's Lord's avatar first, then beat Hela until she can't fight back and control the situation. Then we can discuss how to deal with her. In Hades' view, Serene would definitely be able to take care of Kasui's avatar. As long as they got rid of Black Star's Lord's avatar as well, they would have Serene, and Ethereal would lose their strongest link. Then, they would be able to control the situation and take Hela away. Hearing this, Sagman was a little hesitant. He raised his head and looked at Kasui, who was passionately fighting with the Brilliance without saying anything, then looked at the Black Star clone and Hela, who were watching the show from the side. He made up his mind and nodded. Okay, take down Hela first. At this moment, he made a decision and did not intend to listen to Kasui's order. Just as Hades said, he felt that it would be a little silly to help Hela when he was still fighting, and he would easily become the joke of the universe. On one hand, Sagman and Kasui had different views, and he did not want to come here for nothing, so he wanted to take a gamble. If he could take the opportunity to kill Hela while working with Radiance, he would still destroy Radiance's plan and kill the hostage. Then, he would never have to worry about being caught by the enemy. It was perfect. On the other hand, it was a personal grudge. The feeling of being trapped in the spacetime amber was not good, and he still remembered it clearly. He felt deeply ashamed and wanted to give Black Star a good beating. From the bottom of his heart, he did not want to give up the opportunity to kill Hela and make Black Star feel heartache. Hela had shown a strange recovery ability earlier, so they were not suitable for a long battle. If the 10 Beyond Grade as worked together, their explosive power would suppress Hela's recovery ability to a certain extent. Therefore, Sagman was prepared to find a chance to kill Hela while the two sides worked together. He knew that both sides had their own ulterior motives, and even if they worked together, they would restrict each other openly and secretly. However, he had the confidence to create an opportunity to kill someone under Radiance's nose, and that was the few powerful forbidden spell scrolls that he had not used yet. After a few words, both sides barely reached a consensus. The next second, the 10 Beyond Grade as of Radiance and Ethereal all turned around and looked at Hela with unfriendly gazes. A terrifying, oppressive feeling came crashing down like an avalanche. Hela's face could not help but turn pale, but her expression was still indifferent. At this time, a broad mechanical back moved in front of her, blocking all the hostile gazes and all the pressure. "Don't worry, I'm by your side." Han Zhao's laughter sounded in her ears. Hela was a little dazed. It was this familiar scene again. It was as if the back that protected her every time had overlapped at this moment. She could not calm her emotions. Black Star. What? When will your main body arrive? Han Zhao turned to look at her and said with a meaningful tone. No rush, let me fly for a while. In the main hall of Beast Ancestor's stronghold, Garutan was drinking wine while chatting with Sorokin's manifestation, waiting for good news. After waiting for a while, Sorokin put down his cup and asked, Your Excellency Beast Ancestor, where are the troops you sent out? What's the rush? Are you worried about my subordinates' abilities? Garutan was impatient. He had tasted Sorokin's silver tongue and was convinced. As long as he did not personally take the risk, Garutan was more than happy to add insult to injury for Hela. Not long ago, he had already issued an order for some officers to bring a fleet to destroy the surrounding Stargate stations in an attempt to cut off the dynasty's reinforcements so that they would not be able to arrive in time and ensure that Hela would not receive any reinforcements. It's better to ask. If the dynasty's reinforcements arrive, the nature of the matter will worsen again. Killing a Beyond Grade A under the Black Star Corps, who has not joined the dynasty, will not be a problem as long as we can end the battle quickly. If we have to fight the dynasty's troops head-on, Ethereal and Radiance might not be willing, Sorokin advised. TSK, you have so many tricks up your sleeve. Garutan put down his cup with an impatient expression, took out his communicator, and contacted his officers. Where are you? Have you arrived at the Stargate station? F.A. Father. The officers on the screen were trembling. We were intercepted. Garutan's expression changed. Who dares intercept my men? It's the Mecha Empire's mechanical army, led by their apostle weapons. We can't beat them. Whoosh! Garutan suddenly stood up and knocked over his wine cup, spilling wine all over the floor. His expression was one of bewilderment. Why is he intercepting my men for no reason? They were both peak Beyond Grade as, so Garutan was not afraid of Manison. It was just that their classes were different, and he was not willing to provoke the Mecha Empire, which had many soldiers. Furthermore, the other party had intercepted his men without any warning. No matter how he looked at it, it was not a friendly signal. Sorokin was also a little surprised. He tapped the table lightly and suddenly had a plan. I've roughly guessed it. From the attitude of the Mecha Empire during the meeting of the gods, they definitely do not support the operation against Hela. They probably have already taken precautions. Since you were the one who first released the news, it can be said that this matter started because of you. Thus, the Mecha Empire had their eyes on you long ago. Now that they have taken action, it should be to stop you from destroying the Stargate. Thinking of this, Sorokin could not help but frown. He felt a headache coming on. With the Mecha Empire also involved in this matter, there were many variables out of nowhere. He originally thought that the operation against Radiance or Ethereal was in the bag, but now, he felt a little uncertain. Sorokin had also known the Mecha Empire for a long time. He knew that this guy was also an old fox. Once Manison decided to intervene, it would definitely not be a small matter. He would only target Garutan's troops. Therefore, if he guessed correctly, the Mecha Empire probably had other arrangements. I originally thought that he was just going to watch from the sidelines. I didn't expect him to secretly stop the operation of his ally, Radiance. He's really bold. Then, I'm afraid that this operation will succeed. Sorokin could not help but hesitate. Among the hundreds of Beyond Grade as in the universe, only a few had the qualifications to make him wary. The Mecha Empire was one of them. While he was thinking, Garutan directly contacted the Mecha Empire and questioned, Manison, what are you trying to do by intercepting my men? Manison's face appeared on the screen. Did you forget our agreement during the meeting of the gods? Hela reduced my lifespan and killed many of my subordinate. You want me to just let it go? Garuten said coldly. Do you think that I, a peak beyond grade A, can't be compared to Hela? You don't want others to offend Blackstar, but aren't you afraid of offending me? Because of you, she's already in danger. I hope that you won't pursue this matter. If she really dies, you won't have a good ending either. Madison shook his head. Humph, you said that Blackstar will take revenge, right? Do you think that I'm afraid of him? Remember, he's the one who provoked me. If he wants to play, he'll play with me to the end. All right, let's see if he can afford to play now. I'll get rid of his right-hand men and teach him a lesson, Garuten said coldly. As the saying went, the more one thought about it, the angrier one would be. Every time he thought about how he had suffered such a huge loss and was even insulted by Blackstar in front of him, he would become angrier. I hope that you'll think about the big picture, Madison said with a deep voice. I'm not the one who's going to make a move. Plus, that's your big picture, not mine. Garuten scoffed and said coldly, I'm giving you face by playing with you. This is between me and Blackstar, and it has nothing to do with you. Why are you trying to persuade me? Do you really think that you're the leader of the Beyond Grade as and have the right to interfere in my business? Let me tell you, don't be so shameless. Madison narrowed his eyes, looked at him deeply, and hung up. Garuten snorted angrily, crushed the communicator, threw it aside, and walked toward the door. Where are you going? Sorokin hurriedly asked. Humph, the Mecha Empire intercepted my people. I can't just sit here and wait for them to release them. I'm going to bring them back now. If I have time, I'll destroy a few Stargate stations. Garuten walked straight out. On the frontline battlefield of the Black Star Corps stronghold, the battle had been going on for quite a while, and the situation had completely turned into a three-way battle. After the Radiant Federation fleet and Mornese's mechanical army entered the battle, they once again tied down the defense fleet of the stronghold. The two sides fought around the planet, and the light of the cannons flashed continuously. The scene could be considered a galactic war. Serene and Kasui's doppelganger were still fighting. Kasui was a little too strong, and with his bottomless amount of mana, his doppelganger was able to fight back and forth with Serene for the time being. At the same time, he purposely separated the battlefield. This Void Movie King was actually helping Han Shao tie down the strongest part of the Radiance fleet. This way, the balance of power was balanced, which was a great help. Han Shao was secretly glad about this. If both of them were targeting Hela, the situation would have been very dangerous. In that case, he would have had no choice but to carry out the final plan. However, even if there were actors on the other side, the situation on Hela's side was very serious. Radiance and Ethereal had a total of 10 beyond grade as, and their attacks were overwhelming and terrifying. After successfully connecting with Aurora, the super healer, Hela had no way of fighting back at all. This had nothing to do with her recovery ability anymore. It was a complete suppression. No matter how many times she recovered, she would be crippled. If not for the fact that she could absorb Aurora's life energy, Hela's revival ability would have been activated long ago. Furthermore, Han Shao did not care about the losses and took away part of the pressure. With so many beyond grade as working together, the power was naturally not as simple as 1 + 1. Han Zhao's mechanical army was blown up countless times, and it was close to the upper limit of his waste modification ability. If this continued, he would not be able to recover. Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco had set up a layer of space stabilization anchors and wormhole disruptors. After the Radiant Federation fleet arrived, they set up a second layer, causing the space in this area to be too stable. Han Shao could not open the Dimension Factory and secondary dimensional army boxes, so he could not summon any subordinate. The only thing he could use was the troops in the stronghold. Therefore, he could only use virtual intrusion to deal with the space stabilization devices first. However, Radiance and Ethereal both had this trick up their sleeves, especially Radiance. Not only did they have Morniza, but they also had a beyond grade of virtual mechanic to provide long-range assistance to guard the main artificial intelligence. The virtual defense line was like wearing a chastity belt, flawless and impenetrable. If the mechanical army was destroyed, just one Lord's avatar alone would not be able to deal with 10 beyond grade as. Luckily, the other side is not united. Ethereal and Radiance are wary of each other, which more or less affects their combined strength. They can only use 70 to 80% of their strength at most, Han Xiao thought to himself. He turned around and looked. Currently, he and Hela were separated. Not far away, countless attacks were being thrown at Hela. The situation was dangerous. Hela was taking a huge amount of damage every second, and the light of her life force did not disappear at all. Even a calamity grade like Aurora won't be able to handle such a huge consumption. It won't be long before she is exhausted by her sister. Thinking of this, Han Xiaoxin calmed down. At the same time, Sagman and the others surrounded Hela and gave instructions to their teammate. Later, when Radiance focuses their attacks on Hela, Taylor, use all those scrolls. Use some of them to block Radiance's people and don't let them interfere. Meanwhile, we will attack with all our strength and use the scrolls to finish off Hela before she recovers, shattering her soul. Got it. Taylor nodded and prepared to use the scrolls at any time. Just as everyone was concentrating, an incomparably huge energy source suddenly broke into the range of everyone's perception. It was rapidly approaching at an astonishing speed. Someone's coming again. Everyone was shocked, pausing their actions, and hurriedly looked up. They saw a stream of light flying over from afar, all of which were the exhaust flames of mechanical soldiers. It was a mech legion, and it was extremely large, at least 10 times the size of all the mechanics present combined. At the very front was a figure wrapped in dark blue flames. Like a meteor, it headed straight for Hela's battlefield. Who is that? Could it be that it's here to support Hela? Sagman was shocked. He turned around and realized that Radiance's group of 5 also had the same confused expression. Right at this moment, everyone suddenly saw Serene, who was fighting in the sky, abandon his opponent and head straight for that rapidly approaching blue meteor, intending to intercept it and prevent it from meeting up with Hela. Seeing the two figures collide, in the next moment, everyone present suddenly widened their eyes, almost not daring to believe the scene in front of them. Boom! A mist of blood exploded with a loud bang. The one who was sent flying was Serene. He was like a baseball that was hit by a bat. He spun and spun backward while spitting out blood. Along with him was a bloody severed arm. Serene had a total of 4 arms, and one of them was broken. What? Sagman, the Federation, and the others were shocked and could not believe their eyes. Severely injuring Serene in one hit? Where did this guy come from? This time, this figure collided with Serene and was also forced to stop in midair. The flames wrapped around him disappeared, revealing a figure that everyone recognized. He looked down at the 10 beyond grade as surrounding Hela. At this moment, except for Kasui, all the beyond grade as of the Federation and the Church were stunned. Their hearts were filled with shock, and they blurted out their names. Black Star. Why is it him? Isn't his main body in the base? Why did he come to the battlefield? Many of the beyond grade as present did not realize that just by seeing Han Zhao's main body arrive, their confidence in this operation was reduced by more than half. Facing Han Zhao's Lord's avatar, they still dared to bully him, but facing Han Zhao's main body, many of them immediately lost their courage. It was like they had only wanted to team up to kill an elite monster but suddenly met the final boss. Han Xiao had a strong battle record, and he had already proven his strength as a peak beyond grade A super. His prestige was earned through fighting. Seeing Han Xiao arrive personally, everyone felt immense pressure and hesitated. Hela took this opportunity to escape the encirclement and fly to the side to catch her breath. Not good. Sagman's heart skipped a few times. He recalled the taste of the spacetime amber and shivered. At this moment, facing everyone's gazes, Han Shao slowly opened his mouth. I'm here. He coldly glanced at all the beyond grade, as who had extremely unnatural expressions. His tone was calm, but there was an oppressive majesty. Chapter 1057. As soon as this was said, the expressions of the beyond grade as present changed. They remained silent and did not reply. They were all analyzing the situation quickly and felt that the current situation was very troublesome. The reason they attacked the frontline stronghold was to get rid of Hela while Black Star's main body was not around. They did not want to fight Black Star's main body head-on. Black Star had the strength of a peak beyond grade A, and his indestructible body was extremely difficult to deal with. Plus, his identity was special, and he had the evolution cube, which was of great importance to the dynasty. Since his main body was here, he would definitely bring a universal treasure like the spacetime amber, which would be extremely difficult to deal with. Killing Hela in front of Black Star's main body would be many times more difficult. I'm afraid we won't have a chance. I didn't expect him to come with his main body. Sagman stared at Han Shao in the sky with fear. If it were any other beyond grade A mechanic, it would be a risk for them to come with their main body. However, Black Star had already proven that he was a clear stream among the fragile mechanic. All of a sudden, everyone hesitated and looked at each other, unable to make up their minds. At the same time, Serene finally stabilized his body. His face was filled with anger and shock. He held his broken arm and stared at Han Shao. I'm a peak beyond grade A pugilist, but I couldn't even block the charge of a mechanic and was heavily injured in one move? Serene was shocked when he thought of the power of that attack. Even in his opinion, it was extremely rare to see such powerful single-target lethality. At this moment, Serene was shocked. There was only one thought in his mind. What kind of palm technique did Black Star use? He actually has such a trump card. Serene's fear of Han Shao increased by a few levels. He turned his head to look at his severed arm and controlled his muscles and blood vessels to contract, stopping the bleeding instantly. Then, he used his pugilist energy to catalyze the proliferation of cells. A new arm grew out from the severed arm. Compared to the other parts of the arm, the skin was obviously much more tender. Serene casually smashed the severed arm floating in space into atoms, leaving no trace behind. Then, he slowly flew back to the battlefield. Suppressing the shock and anger in his heart, he did not attack immediately. Instead, he observed everyone's expressions and pondered. Kasuyi quietly floated to the side, looking at Han Shao without any intention of speaking. The field fell into a strange silence. Han Shao, Serene, and Kasuyi, the three peak beyond grade as, stood facing each other, while the rest of the beyond grade as looked at the three of them. Everyone knew in their hearts that whether they would fight or negotiate would depend on the negotiation of the three big shots. Black Star's main body entered the arena and said some harsh words, then did not do anything for the time being. The beyond grade as were not surprised by this. After all, there were so many of them. Even if Black Star arrived, he would not dare to act recklessly. He's alone and probably unwilling to have a direct confrontation with more than 10 beyond grade as on both sides. Thus, he has no choice but to suppress his anger and resolve the problem through negotiation. Understanding this, the expressions of the beyond grade as present became much more relaxed. Since Black Star's main body was here, they should indeed retreat. However, this was not because they were afraid of Black Star but because the mission success rate had plummeted. There was no need to continue fighting here. Although they were afraid of Black Star's main body's strength and universal treasure, with so many beyond grade as here, there was no need to be afraid of Black Star. In the eyes of Sagman and the others, Black Star was just one person. He could protect himself, but he would not be able to do anything. While everyone was guessing, Han Shao silently waited for the Mech Legion behind to catch up to him while looking at the interface. Emergency mission. Rescue Hela. Mission introduction. Hela's Esper ability has caused the fear of many beyond grade as her powerful talent has brought about a calamity of fate. Ethereal and Radiance have decided to take action to eliminate this hidden danger. Mission requirements. Hela survives the attack. Reward: 750 million to 920 million experience, plus 1 legendary point, x4 random reward, x4 unknown character summon cards, x1 blank character summon card. Additional mission requirements: cooperate with the Dynasty's reinforcements to capture the invading Beyond Grade A Supers. Additional reward: every time you capture a Beyond Grade A Supers, you will be able to draw one ability from them. This is probably the most difficult mission so far. Han Shao was speechless. The number of Beyond Grade as present was similar to the Battle of Planet Lighthouse, but Han Shao did not have any reinforcements by his side. He only had Hela, but he had to face more than 10 Beyond Grade as. The last person who faced a similar situation was Es God, and his outcome was to obtain 500 years of rights to a luxurious single cell in the dynasty. However, the mission reward was also unprecedentedly generous. As long as he captured a Beyond Grade A Supers, he would be able to draw one ability from them. The more he captured, the more chances he would be able to draw. My main body is here. The chances of Ethereal and Radiance killing Hela in front of me are not high, so I'll probably have to retreat immediately. I don't know when the Dynasty's reinforcements will arrive, so I'll have to rely on myself to complete the mission. Han Shao had already made up his mind on the way there, so he did not waver. He calmed down a little and thought of something else. On the way, he had received a report from Black Star Palace saying that a Beyond Grade A had come to challenge him, and Ames had already accepted the challenge. Everything was strange. Han Technician had always maintained contact with the main camp, so he knew about the current situation. That traveler had displayed his true strength and was stirring up trouble. Furthermore, the Lord's avatar shared the strength of the main body, so only one could exist at a time. If Han Shao was distracted by the main camp, his main body would be in trouble. Interesting, purposely drawing my attention to make it easier for Ethereal and Radiance. Traveler. Han Shao narrowed his eyes. Traveler was a neutral Beyond Grade A on the surface, but he actually had a close relationship with a supercluster civilization. Very few people knew about this. However, to him, Traveler's identity was not a secret. It had been exposed long ago in his previous life. Could it be that Ethereal and Radiance were working together with a supercluster civilization on this matter? No, it's not them. Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and he rejected this guess. Traveler's identity was a secret in the outside world. Even if Radiance and Ethereal were working together with a supercluster civilization, the supercluster civilization would not send Traveler. Otherwise, Traveler's identity would be exposed. Looks like there's more to this, Han Shao frowned slightly. He did not care too much about the truth. Anyway, he only knew one thing, which was that the superstar cluster civilization behind Traveler definitely had something to do with it. Others might not know Traveler's origin, but he knew it clearly. There was no need for him to investigate at all. He could just put the blame on the civilization behind Traveler, and it would be simple and easy. You dare to cause trouble in my home? You sure have guts. The throne is still on the way. When we reach the main camp, I'll deal with you, Han Shao thought to himself. This time, Hela flew to Han Zhao's side. The other Beyond Grade as did not stop her but followed silently to the side of their respective captains, confronting Han Shao and the Mech Legion behind him. Actually, you shouldn't have come. Hela's expression was complicated. The way she saw it, in order to save her, Han Zhao's main body had rushed here, which was equivalent to walking into this trap and being surrounded by more than 10 Beyond Grade as. Hela knew that compared to her, Black Star was the real thorn in the side of ethereal and radiance. He even had universal treasures like the evolution cube and the spacetime amber on him. If these enemies changed their plans at the last minute and took this opportunity to target Black Star, she would have harmed him. Originally, Hela thought that she was definitely going to die and wanted to see Han Shao one last time. However, when he really came, Hela could not help but worry about Han Zhao's safety. All along, Hela's life motto had been to press forward. She rarely wavered and worried about her gains and losses. If I didn't come, who would have saved you? Han Shao turned around and gave her a gentle smile. You're already safe. If you want to ask why, it's because I'm here. Hela bit her lips lightly and suddenly took the initiative to hold Han Zhao's hand. Han Shao raised his brows and was about to say something when he suddenly felt a wave of life energy coming from Hela's hand. A bunch of buffs popped up on the interface. Aurora's ability can now increase the combat power of life forms. There's not much I can do, so I can only share my life energy with you, Hela said nonchalantly after a few seconds of clenching her fists. Aurora's ability can now increase the combat power of life forms. I can't do much, so I can only share my life energy with you. Thanks. At this moment, Serene spoke with a deep voice. Black Star, since your main body is here, I'll give you some face. I have a deal here. I wonder if you're interested. He felt that Han Shao was stalling for time and waiting for reinforcements, so he did not plan to continue the confrontation and started the conversation. Hearing this, Han Shao looked back at Serene, stopped smiling, and said calmly, Speak. How about we make a deal? As long as you agree to unseal the 10,000 deity scepter for Radiance, not only will we retreat, but we'll also help you deal with Ethereal. Serene's eyes lingered on Kasui. Han Shao had used Charge, Endless Potential in that attack just now along with Yin Ying's character summon card, Comet Glide. In fact, he had already arrived at the edge of the battlefield and had been accumulating power. Originally, he wanted to kill an ordinary beyond grade A, but he did not expect Serene to take the initiative to intercept him. Han Shao had no choice but to unleash the power he had been accumulating on this thick-skinned beyond grade A. Although the lethality of this attack was far from enough to make a peak beyond grade A pugilist lose his combat power, it was enough to make Serene wary. Seeing that the plan was difficult to carry out, he gave up on the plan of taking hostages and turned around to achieve his goal through a deal. At this time, Serene did not know that Kasui was an actor. He felt that Black Star was alone and needed help. Kasui did not care at all. Then our Ethereal will definitely retreat immediately so that you won't be able to succeed. In the end, it'll still benefit Black Star. As he spoke, Kasui suddenly blinked and said, Since Radiance has an idea, I'll also propose a deal on behalf of Ethereal. Go ahead. Han Shao looked at him and said calmly, Go ahead. Black Star, I know that your spacetime amber is very magical and can imprison beyond grade as. How about this, you and I will work together to capture these beyond grade as of the Radiant Federation and sell them to Ethereal. Then, our Ethereal will have the chips to get the 10,000 deity scepter back. What do you think? Serene's face darkened, and he coldly glared at Kasui. Just as the two of them were arguing, Han Shao took a deep breath and slowly said, No need to bother. I'll reject all of your deals. You came to beat up my people, and you want to make a deal with me? Don't even think about it. All of you beyond grade as, come at me together. Serene's eyes widened, and he looked at Han Shao in disbelief. Kasui was also surprised. This was not in the script. Not only the two of them, but the other 10 beyond grade as of Radiance and Ethereal were all shocked and stared at Han Shao in disbelief. Is this guy crazy? One person fighting more than 10 beyond grade as, 2 of which are peak beyond grade as, is this not courting death? After the initial shock, the crowd was enraged. You're looking down on us too much. Do you think we beyond grade as are all made of paper? Black Star, you don't understand the situation, do you? So what if your main body is here? Do you really think you can fight all of us alone? We're retreating because we're afraid of you? Are you serious? Sieran's face completely darkened. You destroyed my frontline stronghold, tried to assassinate my deputy army commander, and now you want to retreat in front of me without me doing anything. Do you think that's possible? Boom. Han Zhao's tone was firm, and his energy fluctuated higher and higher. Hearing this, everyone's eyes became more and more unfriendly. Sieran was even more furious. You better think carefully. Looking at the current situation, we might as well go all the way and make you our target. Hearing this, Hela's expression tightened. She immediately stood in front of Han Xiao, and her death energy spread out again. No matter what decision Han Xiao made, no matter how strong the enemy was, she would fight side by side with Han Xiao without any hesitation. This time, Han Xiao held her shoulder, pressed her behind him, and slowly said, "Don't be so nervous. Don't be so nervous. I alone am enough." The next moment, an earth-shattering energy fluctuation exploded from Han Zhao's body. Sizzle! The violent golden mechanical force was like lightning whips, flashing crazily. Han Zhao's energy fluctuation seemed to be soaring endlessly. Facing more than 10 beyond grade as, Han Xiao did not dare be careless and used his trump card without hesitation. Mecha Empire Summon Card. The Ancient One. Tyrant Summon Card. Polar Channel Flow. Cellular Overdrive. Dragon Emperor Summon Card. Force Field. Dragon Body. Nero Summon Card. Perfect Mechanical Sense. The effects of multiple character summon cards stacked together. At this moment, the energy fluctuation that Han Xiao was emitting was terrifying even to peak beyond grade as. It even stung the senses of everyone present. The expressions of Sagman and the others changed drastically. The anger in their eyes turned into shock. The power that Han Xiao was emitting right now far exceeded their understanding of Han Zhao's strength. Even Kasui, who had been calm all this while, was shocked at this moment. Han Zhao's eyes lit up like two little blue suns. "Let me see how many of you can run away." Without waiting for the beyond grade, as from radiance and ethereal to recover from their shock, Han Zhao's body trembled. Mechanical force shot out and connected with the Mech Legion like a lightning spiderweb. The next moment, the steel torrent formed by the Mech Legion poured down. Chapter 1058. Sagman and the others were still in a state of shock from Han Zhao's energy wave. They did not expect Black Star to really attack. They were shocked and hurriedly took defensive measures. Rumble. The next moment, the figures of more than 10 beyond grade as were instantly drowned in the sea of Mech Legion. As soon as the battle began, the shock in everyone's hearts became even more intense. They felt an unparalleled pressure from the Mech Legion. If it was an army of ordinary beyond grade A mechanics, they would have been able to kill them easily. However, Han Zhao's Mech Legion made them feel as if they were trapped in a quagmire. Only Kasui and Sieran had the ability to move freely. This was not only because the size of the Mech Legion brought by Han Zhao's main body was dozens of times larger than the two mechanics present. It was also because the strength of the mechanical army was beyond their imagination. The bonuses given by mechanical force to the mechanical soldiers were a whole level higher. Han Xiao already had the perfect mechanical sense talent. Now that he used Nero's character summon card and stacked two perfect mechanical sense talents, his machinery affinity reached a whole new level. Facing this overwhelming pressure, the beyond grade as of Radiance and Ethereal did not have time to think about anything else. They subconsciously worked together to block the attacks of the Mech Legion. Boom! The battle erupted, instantly entering a white-hot and intense state, turning into a scene of a great chaotic battle. In the endless black tide of the Mech Legion, There were more than 10 light balls moving in this ocean. Countless beams of light gathered toward these light balls. These light balls were the battlefield where the mech legion surrounded the Beyond Grade as. How did his strength soar to such a level? Sagman's tone was filled with shock. The last time Black Star went all out was during the Battle of Planet Lighthouse. Now that more than 20 years have passed, this is the second time he's gone all out, and he's actually become so much stronger. Taylor was shocked, panicked, and envious. More than 20 years ago, these people from Ethereal who had participated in the Battle of Planet Lighthouse still remembered Han Zhao's performance clearly. Now that more than 20 years had passed, they knew that Black Star had become stronger, but they did not expect him to be this strong. This level of pressure, it feels like the Mecha Empire. Kasui's expression was grave. He was also within Han Zhao's attack range, so he was mainly dodging. He was thinking about what to do next and did not immediately counterattack. He could understand why Black Star attacked. As the party being attacked, Black Star could not let them easily retreat and had to take the attitude to counterattack. However, the strength Black Star's strength this time exceeded Kasui's expectations. At this moment, Sieran spoke in a deep voice, unable to hide the shock in his tone. This is ultimate channel flow, cellular overdrive. Hearing this, everyone's shocked. Isn't this an explosive skill of the pugilist class? Why does Black Star know how to use it? Isn't he a mechanic? I didn't see wrongly. The aura Black Star is giving off is the feeling of this move. Squeezing out one's own potential in exchange for a higher level of strength. Sieran said firmly. Let's not talk about why Black Star can use this move first. The principle won't change. This explanation was quickly accepted, and everyone's expression became complicated. They looked past the Mech Legion and looked at Han Zhao with shock and surprise. Does this mean that Black Star is willing to burn his own potential in order to keep us here? He could have made us retreat on our own accord. Is there a need to go this far? If that was the case, it was not surprising that Black Star had such strength. After all, it was only temporary. However, this level of explosive power was still very scary. Seeing Han Zhao's firm attitude, many people started to think about retreating. Kasui sighed inwardly. Originally, he was a little unhappy when he saw Han Zhao suddenly stealing the show and planned to stop him. However, seeing Black Star's firm attitude, Kasui put away the idea of going all out. Since Black Star had put in a lot of effort, he planned to give face and give in to Black Star. After all, he had to act to the end, and he believed that Black Star knew what he was doing. On the side, Hela saw Han Zhao's power and felt refreshed. Originally, she was shocked and excited, but when she heard this, she was dumbfounded. The next second, Hela's eyes suddenly turned red, filled with rage and killing intent. She did not expect Black Star to burn his potential at all costs. Wasn't the reason why Black Star did this to save her? A heartache that pierced his soul suddenly gushed out, flooding his heart like a flood. Hela turned her head stiffly, and the way she looked at Han Zhao changed. Only regret and guilt were left, and she could not control her emotions. Hela opened her mouth to say something, but Han Zhao waved his hand and interrupted her, saying casually, "Don't worry. You don't have to say anything. I'm fine." "I'm sorry." Hela pursed her lips, clenched her fists, and rushed into the battle formation without saying anything. The death energy was like a storm, and it followed her toward the ethereal beyond grade as her raging anger poured out toward the enemy. Looking at Hela's uncontrollable killing intent, Han Zhao had a helpless expression. The aftereffect of polar channel flow, cellular overdrive, was to permanently increase the cost of upgrading one's character and ability by 7%, which was equivalent to burning one's potential. However, what these people did not know was that Han Zhao was using the Tyrant's character summon card. Although it could only be used once, the character summon card would not have any side effect. Sieren's misjudgment caused everyone to misunderstand. So be it. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's beneficial to me. Han Xiao shook his head. Of course, he would not explain. Some of these character summon cards could only be used once, temporarily giving him super strength. Using them in exchange for permanent abilities was definitely worth it. He was now filled with an unprecedented sense of strength. The Tyrant's character summon card overclocked his basic attributes and ability, temporarily reaching the level of his next promotion. The dual mechanical sense also increased the strength of his mechanical army. With the two stacked together, his strength had reached a terrifying level. The ones with the greatest enhancement were the elite forces such as the apostle weapons. Swoosh! Red Devil Tolian leaned back and barely dodged Psionic Prime's simple spear. His thick magical energy shield was cut in half, and a deep wound appeared on his chest that was full of bone spikes, revealing his copper ribs. Tolian hurriedly swung his tail and used the bone spurs on his tail to hit Psionic Prime's mechanical body. Psionic Prime did not panic and directly blocked the attack with his spear. Bang! The spear and bone collided, and a shockwave spread out. Tolian was a melee mage who focused on enhancing himself, so he had stacked a large number of enhancement spells. However, Psionic Prime, who was surrounded by golden mechanical force, blocked the powerful demon tail and did not back off. Help, help! His apostle weapons are too strong! Tolian exclaimed. With the mechanical force boost from dual mechanical sense, just Psionic Prime alone was enough to make him feel pressured. Furthermore, Psionic Prime was not the only one dealing with him. The melee forces such as Heaven-Suppressing Banner and Purple Sky Spirit, as well as the long-range damage dealers such as Silver Flash and Crimson Flame, were all attacking Tolian. Han Zhao's plan was to use the Mech Legion to restrain the others while focusing the elites on one target. Sagman was also heavily surrounded and was fighting the Mech Legion. He could not help but feel annoyed when he heard Han Zhao's words. "You're so useless." However, he could not help his own people, so he had no choice but to provide help. He turned around and attacked the apostle weapons surrounding Tolian, and a powerful light energy shockwave shot out. At this time, countless nanoparticles gushed out from the middle and suddenly turned into a large fortress, separating Tolian's battlefield. Streams of light flowed on the surface of this large mechanical fortress, which quickly gathered and formed a pale golden semi-transparent light screen, blocking the light energy shockwave. Boom, boom, boom. Sagman's attacks all landed on this pale golden light screen. In an instant, electric arcs shot out, dazzling the entire area. Very soon, the light from the explosions dissipated, and this light screen did not move at all. It flickered slightly and blocked this wave of attacks, protecting this mechanical fortress tightly. What a strong defense! Sagman was shocked. This mechanical fortress was one of Han Zhao's apostle weapons, called Sky Wall. This light screen was similar to Psionic Prime's spear and was also a companion weapon of an apostle weapon. It was called Wall of Defense and focused on defense. However, Sky Wall had more than one companion weapon. It also had another offensive weapon, Ion Green Flame. A large number of cannons extended from this fortress, spitting out beams of green light towards Sagman and the others. This was his unique Ion Green Flame, a special type of plasma energy. Not only did it have destructive power, but it also had many special effects. *T, I've been isolated. Seeing this, Tolian panicked. Just as he wanted to get rid of the entanglement and regroup with his teammates, he suddenly felt a piercing sense of danger. All of a sudden, a small black beam of light shot out from the gaps of the surrounding mechanical army and easily penetrated his magic shield. Tolian hurriedly dodged, but this beam of light still hit his shoulder. Boom! The next moment, a huge wound suddenly appeared on Tolian's shoulder. He had received true damage. He covered his wound and dodged, panicking as he looked in the direction the beam of light came from. He saw a dark humanoid apostle weapon aiming a special gun at him. When Tolian looked over, this apostle weapon suddenly turned invisible and disappeared. Dark Shadow, a sniper assassin-type apostle weapon. Its companion weapon was Divine Concealment Paint, which had extremely powerful stealth, camouflage, and environmental concealment functions. The gun in its hand was also a highly concentrated sniper gun, extremely lethal against single target. Damn it, what kind of weapon is this? My recovery ability is suppressed. Before Tolian could catch his breath, the mysterious energy host arrived and blasted a thick beam of light from afar. Tolian could only barely activate his magic shield to block it. However, the primal chaos mysterious energy also had the mental attribute. Although Tolian blocked the attack, his soul was also impacted, interrupting his casting. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Hela did not hold back. Death energy rained down on Tolian's body like a storm, causing him to be covered in wounds and blood. "Why are you all attacking me?" Tolian wanted to cry. Looking around, he was the one in the worst situation. "I'm just a new beyond grade A super. Aren't you bullying me?" While Tolian was in a perilous situation, Sagman and the others were also anxious as they discussed countermeasures. "Black Star has too many mech legion, and they're too strong. We can't let them hold us here. We have to attack Black Star himself. Taylor, use the forbidden spell scroll on him. He has an indestructible body. Can we hurt him? We have to do it even if we can't now. There's no better way. Let's focus fire together with the forbidden spell scroll," Sagman said angrily. Hearing this, Taylor tore open an offensive forbidden spell scroll without hesitation. Whoosh! Streaks of black spell meteors shot out from the scroll, piercing through all the psionic shields along the way and heading straight for Han Zhao's body. This spell had an extremely strong penetrative ability, and its attack power was extremely high. It was originally one of the trump cards that Han Zhao had planned to use to heavily injure Hela. Sagman and the others did not stay idle. Together with the forbidden spell scroll, they focused fire on Han Zhao. Light energy shockwaves, pugilist shockwaves, high-risk spells, psionic cannons, and so on were all thrown in the direction of Han Zhao, forming a wave of powerful attacks. The intense energy shockwaves attracted the attention of the Radiance members, who were fighting not far away. They all turned to look at the situation and were secretly shocked. If they were facing this kind of attack, most of the beyond grade as present would have to avoid it. The violent energy surged toward him, but Han Zhao did not panic. He did not even move from his spot. With a wave of his hand, spherical mechanical discs quickly gathered. Every disc had a piece of spacetime amber on it, and they immediately formed a double-layered shield wall in front of Han Zhao. Swoosh! All the long-range energy attacks were like water meeting a reef. They slid away from the spacetime amber sphere and could not hurt Han Zhao at all. Seeing this, everyone's heart sank. They were extremely jealous. The existence of the spacetime amber was no longer a secret. The arrival of Han Zhao's main body meant that this universal treasure had arrived. Since it could even block the attacks of the 10,000 deity scepter, the threat of long-range attacks to Han Zhao's main body had been reduced to the lowest. Even without the spacetime amber, his tankiness was more than enough to take the attacks head-on. It was too difficult to hurt Black Star's main body. "We can use psychic attacks against his main body," Hades hurriedly said. Crystal Soul and Hades were both psychic. They both gathered their strongest psychic energy and attacked Han Zhao's mind from a distance. Seeing this, Kasui thought about it and also pretended to attack Han Zhao with a psychic attack. Psychics were experts in psychic attack. They could attack the target's soul out of thin air, which was extremely difficult to defend against. "My shortcomings have been fixed long ago." Han Zhao's expression did not change. He directly activated Cisco's character summon card, Psychic Wall of Mind. He did not move at all. Instead, Crystal Soul and Hades, who were attacking with all their might, were shaken. Their psychic energy instantly weakened, and they suffered heavy mental injuries. Cisco's character summon card could greatly reduce the actual damage of psychic attack. At the same time, it could also reflect some of the damage. Crystal Soul and Hades did not hold back and took their own attack. Kasuyi, on the other hand, was only pretending and was not unlucky. Crystal Soul was still fine. He was stronger, and he also had a psychic universal treasure like the Star Power Crown. His injuries were very light. However, Hades was not strong enough and suffered a huge loss. He can even reflect psychic attacks? Hades's face turned pale and he was shocked. Did this be ** not have any weaknesses? How did he know everything? The man and Crystal Soul did not believe it. However, the more they attacked, the more psychic damage was reflected. Han Xiao maintained his calm appearance. On the other hand, the two psychics were injured by their own attack. With his mental resistance, the great mechanic Han could also block a lot of mental damage, but taking damage was not as good as reflecting it back. Facing more than 10 opponents, he would not let go of any opportunity to weaken the enemy's combat power. After fighting for a while, the experts of Radiance and Ethereal were very passive. They were trapped in the sea of Mech Legion and could not move at all. With such a huge mechanical army, coupled with Han Zhao's true damage talent, the effect of this was not just to restrain the beyond grade as. If they were not careful, they would die on the spot after a few rounds of focus fire. Therefore, everyone was very nervous. If they were facing an ordinary mechanic, the dozen beyond grade as would have charged forward long ago. However, facing Black Star, most of them did not even have the desire to charge forward. He was too tanky, so tanky that they did not have any thoughts. However, this did not include Sierran. As a peak beyond grade A pugilist, he was still able to charge left and right unparalleled in the highly enhanced Mech Legion. Like the Tyrant, he also had true damage immunity talents, so he had the ability to ignore the focus fire of the Mech Legion. However, compared to the entire Mech Legion, the number of mechanical soldiers he killed was just a drop in the ocean. The muscles on Sierran's arms bulged, and he shot a pugilist wave at Han Xiao. However, it was still reflected by the spacetime amber and could not hit Han Xiao at all. Seeing this, he could not help but grit his teeth and talk to Kasuyi calmly. "Let's work together. You use your psychic power to restrain the Mech Legion and help me get close to Black Star. You know how explosive my power is. I don't want to kill him. Let's see if you can restrain Black Star." "I'm out of energy," Kasuyi said. Hearing this, Sierran almost could not breathe. "When you were fighting me just now, you were full of energy and seemed to have an endless amount of energy. Now, you're saying that you're out of energy? Who the **ck are you lying to?" On the other hand, the three of them were virtual intruded by Han Xiao through the connection. Radiance had 2 people, and with the computing power of the main artificial intelligence, they were barely able to block Han Zhao's data probes. However, Mechanical Catastrophe Francisco was only 1 person, and he did not specialize in virtual technology. His defense was weak, and he was targeted by Han Xiao. Even his back door was damaged. His mechanical army betrayed him one after another, becoming Han Zhao's reinforcements and attacking his teammate. "I can't take it anymore." Francisco could not take it anymore. Even the movement of his lord's avatar became sluggish. At this moment, a giant mechanical hand reached over and grabbed Francisco's lord's avatar, who could not dodge in time, and squeezed. Gotcha! Francisco's lord's avatar instantly turned into a pile of scrap metal, and the power that descended was automatically retracted. Han Xiao curled his lips and casually threw away the remains of Francisco's lord's avatar. Brittle skin. These mechanics who used Lord's Descent could not be caught and could be deactivated at any time. If he wanted to make them leave, all he had to do was destroy their Lord's avatar. After all, not every mechanic's Lord's avatar was as tanky as his. Seeing this, Morniza dejectedly gave up on the idea of invading. She could only focus on strengthening her defense and try her best to prevent Han Shao from breaking through. At this moment, the situation of the battle suddenly changed. Under the siege of so many apostle weapons and Hela, Tolian could not hold on at all. The damage output of the surrounding mech legion took up most of the damage. Tolian did not have the ability to be immune to true damage, so his health dropped rapidly under the focus fire of the mech legion. His other teammates were all pinned down and could not provide support. Boom. Boom. Ah! Tolian was once again drowned in the cannon fire. He was already at his limit, and this time, he had finally reached his limit. There was not a single piece of flesh on his body that was unharmed. His demon horn was broken, and his mind was in a chaotic state from the torture of Hela and the mysterious energy host. He was heavily injured and lost his ability to fight. Hela was about to kill him, but Han Shao had the mechanical deity reach out and separate her. Don't kill him! Why, they caused you to. Hela gritted her teeth, not having the heart to continue. Capturing him is more valuable. Han Shao shook his head, grabbed the almost unconscious Tolian, and sucked him into the mechanical deity, transporting him to his main body. Han Shao took out the spacetime amber and directly sealed the defenseless Tolian. Looking at this guy's frozen painful expression, Han Shao showed a satisfied smile, like an old farmer checking his harvest for the year. The first one. Tolian has been captured. Sagman was shocked and angry. Looking at the mechanical deity that had captured his teammate, he could not help but feel panic in his heart. He did not need to think to know that Tolian was definitely going to have a taste of the spacetime amber. He could not help but feel sad for him. Due to the special tankiness of Black Star's main body, they could not use the same methods to deal with Black Star as they did to normal mechanic. There was only one path in front of them, which was to destroy Black Star's mech legion. However, Black Star was fighting on his home turf, and he had even burned his potential. Coupled with the unique combat style of a mechanic, the strength he could unleash was extremely terrifying. It could be divided into three main areas: the mechanical deity itself, the elite troops such as the apostle weapons, and the huge mech legion. The mechanical deity and serene were evenly matched, pinning down a single pinnacle beyond grade A, while the mechanical army was pinning down many beyond grade As. The apostle weapons and the other elites were able to split up and destroy the mechanical deity and serene. If they continued to fight with Black Star, he did not know how many people they would lose here. In the past, Black Star only had strong recovery abilities. Now that his combat strength had increased, Sagman's impression of him was that of a crushing existence that made people despair. Your Excellency Kasuyi, what should we do now? Sagman could not help but look at his captain. At this moment, the one he trusted the most was still his boss. However, he did not know that Kasuyi had already given them enough leeway to form an ocean. Black Star burned his potential in exchange for this kind of strength. He won't be able to last long. The operation has failed, so there's no point in continuing to fight. Let's retreat, Kasuyi said slowly. What about Tolian? Are we going to ignore him? You might not even be able to leave, yet you still have the time to care about others. Kasuyi shook his head. Although he was the leader, he did not mind Black Star capturing a few people to vent his anger. The way he saw it, Black Star had burned his potential, so it was only right for the universal civilization to give him some compensation. After all, he was not the one paying for it. This group of Beyond Grade as had already offended Black Star by coming to kill Hela. If he did not let him vent this anger, it would not be in line with his and the Mecha Empire's thoughts. I'm so dizzy that I can't write this 7,000-word piece of paper. Asterisk winky face. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.